Catch it, match it, stash it in the cabinet. Listen to the chorus while let Ivan scratch it. This is real hip-hop, we aiming for a classic. And if we can't approach it, screw it, we'll attack it. Catch it, match it, stash it in the cabinet. Listen to the chorus while let Ivan. This is real hip-hop, we aiming for a classic. And if we can't approach it, screw it, we'll attack it. What you know about classic music?
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Retro Wrestling Review Series. And funny story, this isn't in the script or anything like that, but every time that James records something on his end, I always forget to not go, hey, what's up, everybody, right away, because the intro plays right away. And that's happened the past 2 times now. I've gone, hey, what's up, everybody? And they're just like, no, it's not. We haven't started yet. We got to do the intro and everything like that. Like,
Owen says, hey, what's up, everybody? If there's nobody in the room, is anybody there to hear it?
That's a good point.
Exactly.
But then there's another funny story that just happened. We may have to re-record this again. I hope we don't. So we just did like this recording. It's a good thing you caught it right away, though. I would have been it would have sucked if we did like.
Fuck yeah. You ain't kidding, man. I think I'm gonna like have my Audacity run in the background in case that happens again. Then I can just edit it in, spicy, you know. But yeah, basically what happened was, his audio was fine. He was being recorded. You could hear him. You couldn't hear shit from me. So I was just like, I'm talking. You can't hear a thing of what I'm saying. At all. I don't know. Should I spicy? I don't know. Adult Swim it? Here we go. Spicy.
I have a feeling I'm going to end up doing this like every time I do OBS or my thing. I'm just going to be talking and I'm going to forget.
You are cordially invited to the FTW Productions Watch Party.
No, oh my fucking god. It actually glitched on me. Oh my god, it's not responding. Please respond. Oh my god, I'm sorry guys, I tried. It's just one of these stupid days. I'll be back. I'm done. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Thanks for the day from hell, the day previous. By the way, we're recording this on July 16th, 2022. The day before, if you know what happened on the 15th on my channel, you know. Rage moment. Put that shit on Stream Fails. Anyway.
I don't know. I actually don't know what happened, so...
just watch it on your own time. Don't worry. Yeah. You got it.
But yeah, so we're here to talk... Well, should I even introduce you? Because I feel like that was kind of the introduction right there. You already introduced yourself.
Yeah, I'm James Hebert, and you're...
Oh, I'm Owen the Birdman Finch.
There you go.
I'm the host of this thing. And we're doing SummerSlam 2002. So everyone's probably wondering... It's obvious why you picked SummerSlam 2002. Because we did SummerSlam 1992. So we figured you want to do it 10 years from now. You would want to go by the decades. That has nothing to do with it.
Not at all. I'm going to make this very clear to everybody here. Our schedules constantly change, even if we do try to plan something out. That's number one. Number two, we do not plan stuff that fucking well. We just kind of pick a show. This is like the first time I think we are legitimately successfully doing a 10-year by 10-year retrospective on the company, which is like, I think that's a fucking milestone for us, like, for both you and I, because we suck at getting shit out on time.
So the reason I picked this show, though. This is kind of a mutual pick, because James has wanted to do this show for a while. I think you pitched this. You pitched this back in 2018, I believe, right? Or was it 20?
Yeah, it was when we were trying to go ham the first time around, I think, and that was when I was like back into the fold, and I was like, hey. Yeah. I would love to do this show, and we just never got around to it, and we're like, yeah, fuck it. Perfect. And then there ain't no time like the present when there's, like, a SummerSlam coming up in 2022, which I will be commentating with Noah and JJ on the Jeff Meacham Network, my final Big Four pay-per-view ever for that. More on that later on a video on my channel. But, yeah, might as well get the other retros out the way. That's we kind of realized what the heck we were doing. I think, what was it, like, halfway through that review, we were like, wait a minute, we're doing 2002. And then you recommended we should do 2012. Yeah. So, that's what we're doing. And on top of that, we got 2000 and 2003 on top of that. So there you go.
Yeah. So I also picked it, because then, I think a few weeks ago, I picked this show, because I always hear how great this show is. I always hear that it's like one of the best, not just SummerSlams of all time, but one of the best like WWE pay-per-views of all time.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see it for myself. I've actually only ever seen one match on the show, and that was the main event because I had it on DVD from like the WWE Championship matches.
Same, so actually. Oh my God, you have the same DVD that I do.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had never seen the show from top to bottom. I'm trying to think if there's any other. Yeah, I hadn't seen. I've only seen one match ever on this show. I was trying to remember if I've seen any other matches, but I've only ever seen one. So I figured let's just finally do it, so I can finally see how good this show is, and let's just start talking about it. We can talk about how good this show is. So let's give a little. We did it a little bit for SummerSlam '92. It's not going to take us long.
Oh no, we did do a little bit. We did a lot of it. There was a lot of history to go over because it was the first WWE Big Four pay-per-view in the UK ever, and it was just a lot happening in England at the time, and it was a lot happening with the WWF at the time. So much goddamn history had to be covered, which is why it was 4 hours. It's not even going to be close to that at this time around, because
it's only us two, unless somebody comes in last minute, like happened last time.
Yeah, no, we're not. I already made sure they can't do that because I got place to be. But the only thing you really need to know is that the WCW was kicking the WWF's ass for a long fucking time until they started to finally fight back because their back was against the wall and they weren't financially set off like they are, or financially well set like they are now. And so basically, they did what they did and kicked WCW's ass right back, won the Monday Night War, bought WCW, bought ECW, effectively pretty much monopolizing the entire industry for a good year. Around the same time, Ring of Honor was about to start up and TNA. So I think by this point they would have been around, but the WWF was the only game in town. Until the WWF got sued by a panda and got hit in the back with a steel chair in the process by the very same panda because they were like, you can't use our initials. We're going to them fighting words. And WWE's like, we don't want that fight, and changed the WWF to the WWE and got the F out. So that's pretty much the history that you need to know. So,
there's other Other things we should talk about, because it was also pretty notable. The draft had gone into effect because they split Raw and SmackDown up because they had so much people on their roster they didn't have a choice.
This was after their first draft between WCW and WWF absolutely failed a miserable death.
Yeah.
So.
And also, I think because this was also a pretty big thing that happened. This was the same year that the top guy of the company, Stone Cold Steve Austin, walked out. He had walked out like a few months before this.
Yes, he
so
did.
Pretty much WWE had to find another top guy, and that actually happens on this show right here. So we're gonna talk about that.
Boy, did they find a fucking top guy.
Also, too, I mean, I know we'll talk about it later. The Rock pretty much was being phased out as a full-timer because he was going to Hollywood at this time, too.
WWF were losing. They already had lost Mick Foley, at least from full-time competition at that point. And they were losing two of the biggest money-making stars they've ever had at one particular time. And Hogan wasn't really the same megastar that he was back when, back during the time period that we reviewed, even though he wasn't on the show. People really still wanted to see him. That's how big his drawing power was. Like, they sold out that show specifically to see Hogan, and then Hogan wasn't there, and the crowd ended up enjoying the show anyway. So, like, it's not even the same time period anymore. Like, so.
Well, you gotta remember, too, they tried to put the belt on Hogan, and it flopped big time.
Big time.
Like, big time.
Yeah, it was really doing terribly in the ratings because, like, again, not even the same performer anymore, and I think a lot of people still had ill will for him because of what ended up happening to WCW, and whether that's fair or not, that's probably what happened. So they didn't want to nobody, if you're a hardcore fan, wanted to relive that. So the casuals didn't care because he was slow in the ring. The hardcores were dreading him being the top guy again.
Yeah.
And so they were losing money fast, so they had to get the belt off him. So then they gave it to Taker after a month, and then after a few months, The Rock won it in a triple threat match, which is really, really good at Vengeance. One of the best triple threat matches you will see, which was only then followed up by a freaking house show triple threat that was even better between Triple H, The Rock, and Brock Lesnar, who absolutely fucking shined in this match, which is what I think ultimately led to him getting the strap at the main event, which we will get to towards the end. But there was a lot of things going on here at this point, and The Rock and Austin were gonna be gone, and the only true top guy they had from the Attitude Era left was Triple H. So that was it.
Pretty much.
That was it. And Shawn Michaels, he just came back, but arguably you can make the argument Triple H had more eyes on him and was a bigger star than HBK was at that point.
Especially considering the fact that, because remember, Shawn Michaels' match was meant to just be a one-off, too.
Right. So it was okay, now, granted, I mean, if you're associated with Triple H, you're immediately going to get a lot of eyes on you anyway by this point, but it wasn't nearly as much. I mean, they already made so many mistakes during the invasion that they lost a lot of viewership. So,
absolutely.
It was going to be really hard to get those viewers back. And we're going to talk about it, but all that considered, this ended up being a really fucking great show. I mean, and it's fucking crazy how they fucked this up, because they really could have had something special in this time period with the Ruthless Aggression era throughout the 2000s. I don't know how you could have fucked this up.
We'll talk about it at the end. So let's talk about the show itself first.
Yeah.
So this show ended up taking place in New York, Uniondale, New York. The venue was the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. I don't even know if that's still even around anymore.
Probably not, but it's probably, if it is, it's probably under a different name for sure.
Yeah, I can actually just click on it and find out. No, it's the Coliseum, the Nassau Coliseum. It's still around.
There you go.
So, it did pretty well in attendance. It got 14,797 people attending it. and it got 540,000 in the buy rates, which is really good.
Still really good. I am very curious as to what SummerSlam 01 did. Because
that's a good...
like that, and WWF, I'll look that up real quick. Actually, the last paper
570,000. So that was.
So it was only down really like.
I mean, you got to remember, this was before they really screwed. That was before they really screwed up the Invasion Angle. Like, really
and even then, I mean, that's a considerably small deficit that they suffered for the show. So the fact that they still did over 500,000 buys is, I wouldn't say a miracle because they were still pretty hot, but it wasn't Attitude Era hot at this point anymore. Like they cooled down significantly by this point.
Yeah.
So
we had the commentary teams. We had for the represented Monday Night Raw, it was Jerry the Kid Lawler and Jim Ross, and represented SmackDown, it was Michael Cole and Taz. I think this is important to mention because this was when Michael Cole was really starting to become the lead play-by-play because
and he was really good here by this point. He wasn't like insufferable. Like he was really good by this point, and especially with Taz they were the perfect team for SmackDown.
This is when Taz and Ren days were over, and I liked how they had the commentary set up. You had Michael Cole and Taz where the commentary booth usually is, and you had JR and Kimber like up on the stage, like where Raw usually was, which I think is different. And must suck though trying to like commentate though because you have to watch the monitors. You're like so far away from the action.
Yeah,
It really shows how great they were on commentary. The fact that they were able to commentate from all the way over there.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you can make the argument. You can make the argument AEW has the same thing because they're a commentary team, but the electronics and all that stuff's better now. Like this is 2002 electronics at the time. I bet it wasn't easy back then.
It was not.
So,
I would imagine it's not. Like those monitors, man. Have you ever seen one of them? It sucks trying to watch shit on that thing, man. Like how they did it, I have no idea. Genuinely have no fucking clue.
Yeah. So let's start by talking about the show. It actually just opens right up. So this is actually a funny story. So James and I because actually this is a funny story. I'm pretty sure, you can correct me if I'm wrong, this show was not on Peacock for a while. I tried to find this show a while ago.
I don't know I don't know how we were able to find it, but we ended up finding it eventually. But.
And James is like, no, we can't. We got to find something else to watch it off of because they just get right into the action. Like James thought something else was like an opening.
I thought they cut an opening. I thought they cut everything. I thought they replaced the song, and it turned out no, they just weren't doing pay-per-view themes that heavily still yet. And I'm like, I swear 2002 was like the year of pay-per-view themes. Like, cause some of those themes ruled. I remember the Unforgiven one was like my favorite one of that time period. You don't feel the pain, pain, pain.
Yeah.
That shit rules. But no fucking third-party rights music. It just opens up with the typical Jim Johnson track for SummerSlam from the year prior, and I'm like, huh? And they don't even have a promo. They don't do this grandiose thing like they did in '92. They don't even do like a 2000 level thing. Like they just go straight into the pyro, and I'm like, huh? Okay, fair enough. I swear that don't sound right. If anybody has a DVD copy of this somehow and can share if my suspicions are correct and they actually did cut something out on the network version, please let us know in the comments or in the live chat. I'm probably going to premiere this thing because I genuinely don't know. Something felt amiss, like they cut something completely. It felt janky where they do a cold open like that.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
So, there was a Sunday Night Heat match. I couldn't find this match anywhere, but I'll make sure I make mention of it. Spike Dudley ended up defeating Steven Richards in a match. I can't really comment on the match itself because I didn't see it, but it did happen, so there you go. As for where both...
You remember when every WWF show meant something back in the Attitude Era? Wow.
Yeah.
We went the complete opposite direction on that one.
I know. You have shows nowadays like NXT Level Up where if you miss like 3 episodes, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. A main event, if you go on that show, it's like the end of your career.
Yeah. Yep.
Ask Dominic Dijakovic how that's going for him. So.
Oh, you mean you mean Bar of the Tea variety?
No, I refuse. I will not call him by that name anymore.
I didn't call him by that name. I'm just calling him what they fucking called him in reverse order.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you know the name they gave him is in reference to how a stripper wears her thong?
I remember like when Retribution was a thing, there was a bunch. The dirt sheets reported like there was a ton of things that the like slapjack actually means. Just look up what slapjack means. I believe it's slapjack is like the weirdest one.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. And believe it or not, those were only the names that got passed. There were some names that got denied. You wouldn't even believe that these were names.
Oh, you gotta tell me this off the air.
Yeah, I don't remember what it is off the top of my head right now, but it was bad.
Let me guess. Some really sexual shit. That's great timing for all this shit to come out right now. Anyway.
So, as for where both of these guys are, Spike Dudley would last a little bit longer in the WWE. He would have one more Cruiserweight Championship one. Was he gone by 05, or was he... I'm pretty sure it was... all the Dudleys were gone by 05.
All the Dudleys were gone by 05, and actually all ended up going to TNA, including Spike.
Yeah.
But before that, Spike did have a pretty decent run as the boss of the Dudley Boys. Which,
right.
Man, I wish they kept going with that, because something about that was so unique, and they just didn't continue, man. It was...
And then, he had a run in TNA for a bit, and then he left TNA. He was actually at there's a local indie promotion called Top Rope Promotions. He was like the general manager of on screen,
really?
Anyways.
He was the general manager for Top Rope.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
And then he pretty much ended up leaving the wrestling business. And if you go watch, I believe it's still relevant. Look up Chris Van Vliet interview with him. He pretty much talks about how he's basically been out of the wrestling business entirely. He has a real life job now and stuff, and he pretty much said he can't get into the business anymore. He doesn't watch anything wrestling right now, so that may change, but we'll have to wait and see. So,
like, he can't get into the business as a fan, or like
at all, nothing.
Okay.
So not even AEW. So
fair enough. Listen, man, it is what it is, but yeah, there you go.
And then Steven Richards will last a little bit longer in WWE. They would bring back the BWO members, and they would do a couple of, nostalgia appearances and all that type of stuff. And then he went on to be a part of WWE ECW for a bit, and they never utilized him at all. The biggest thing I think he did in WWE ECW, and this is really sad, was a feud with Mike Knox that he lost. So that's pretty damn sad that was the biggest thing he did in WWE ECW.
And I believe then eventually he... Oh, and then let's talk about he goes to TNA, and then he's Dr. Stevie.
That's right.
Don't watch that era of Abyss. Yeah. Just skip it.
And then
it leads right into a fucking Abyssomania thing, and it all sucked. That whole time period sucked for Abyss.
And then afterwards, I'm just gonna look real quick. He just does the indies now, pretty much. He doesn't.
He did show up on Hardcore Justice, and then that was really like his last big thing. Was that he had a match at TNA Hardcore Justice, which is basically an ECW tribute show, without being named legally an ECW tribute show.
Yeah, we gotta review that show someday. So then let's get to the actual show itself. It came off right with the action. We had. Probably.
Before you do that, let me just test something real quick, because I'm a little paranoid now. So testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Okay, I think we're good. I was just double checking. All right, continue.
Let's get we got right into the action. We had the first match on SummerSlam was Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio. Yeah, we're talking about an opener.
Yeah,
if you went back and asked a lot of people, to name the best opening matches on SummerSlam, this would probably be number one on a lot of people's list because it's that damn good.
It's definitely a great opener. I don't know if I'd call it the best opener.
Yeah.
Now by nowadays standards, I'd probably have to go like all over the SummerSlam reviews to figure it out, because like I need to figure out, okay, were people invested in the feud going on in the opener? Like that's kind of like, because like I know there had to have been a couple of matches that may have surpassed this now. But
if I had to guess, some of the matches that I think the one match I could think of nowadays that might top it is Seth Rollins versus Dolph Ziggler at SummerSlam 2018, because the people were really invested.
Yeah, maybe.
People were really because that was when Seth Rollins, that was right before when he was like red hot on fire, and then that was when Dolph Ziggler like rejuvenated his career for like a bit.
Yeah, so
I'm trying to think of other.
I don't know. There might be one during. I want to say it was like no, that was I'm sorry, that's my brain saying Benoit didn't exist. I was gonna say Benoit and Orlando. I was gonna say the match after Orlando Jordan and Benoit, but I forgot it was actually Orlando Jordan and Benoit that opened it.
I'm trying to think. I'm going through the matches right now. I'd say Chris Jericho, Dolph Ziggler from 2012. But I don't think that quite surpasses it, because I remember that.
It's definitely up there. It's got to be like top 3. It has to be.
Yeah.
It's so fucking good. And they were giving like barely any time, by the way.
Maybe Seth Rollins versus not Seth Rollins, Dolph Ziggler versus The Miz at SummerSlam 2014. That was a banger.
Probably.
I'm trying to remember what opened SummerSlam 2016. I don't think anything really opened it. Definitely not 2017, because that was when.
You know what? Rey Mysterio. Speaking of Dolph Ziggler, him and Mysterio, did they open SummerSlam 09? I swear they did.
They did. Yeah, they did.
So that would be the only one. They both involve Rey, so I'm happy. So
yeah. Now the question I have for you, because then we get into the 2010s where they started doing the kickoffs. Do you consider Cena, technically the opener was 2017 was Cena versus Corbin. That definitely doesn't. That definitely is not better.
Hell no.
Hell no. So I remember it opened 29. Oh, that was Becky Natty. I don't think that popped.
No. If it was I remember the Usos and the New Day had a banger match on the kickoff. If that opened, yes, that would be the best of all time. Period. SummerSlam openers. But
I'm trying to think. I don't want to say. I think 2020 had Asuka versus Bayley, but that was the Thunderdome crowd. I think if that had the real crowd, that probably would have. That'd probably be up your.
Maybe that's about the only one. I don't know. Rey Mysterio and Kurt Angle definitely is the top for now, unless I find something that's better. But again, it's really hard not to argue that this isn't one of the it is.
So let's talk about the history behind. So basically, the history behind this match was Rey Mysterio was starting to make his way into WWE. He had debuted in January 2002. He didn't really do much that year until this point. Was it just they didn't have any creative plans for him, or did he get some type of injury or something? Because I remember he doesn't really.
No, he didn't get an injury yet. He was just they didn't know what to do with him, so they just But they knew he would be a big star, and the marketing behind him was all over what they could do with him. So they were just trying to do anything at this point.
I do wonder too, because I did hear history of the mask. Because I'm pretty sure he shows up with his mask, but I remember at the end of WCW he didn't have his mask. So I'm wondering. There's a bunch of bullshit. Once you lose your mask, you have to go through to get your mask back. So I'm wondering if he had to.
Probably. I think that was still definitely a rule back then. Yeah, for sure.
So.
It's not like it is nowadays where you could have fucking Penta lose his mask 7 million times and Mexico wouldn't give a fuck.
Yeah. But, Rey Mysterio showed up on a tag match on SmackDown and he got a shock upset roll-up on Kurt Angle. So Kurt Angle was upset. He challenged Rey Mysterio to a rematch at SummerSlam. Rey Mysterio accepted. And that was pretty much the feud. It was basically Kurt Angle just wanted to beat Rey Mysterio. And he promised to break Rey Mysterio's ankle in this match, which you could say he kind of lives up to his promise in this match.
A little bit.
Sort of.
I would say, a little bit.
So, what a match this was. The match immediately kicks off. You see Kurt Angle come out, and you hear Rey music come out, and you think, usually when they do he doesn't come out right away. Usually when they do an ankle like that, he's either going to do something backstage where he's, laid out.
Yeah, in this case, he would have popped right out of the stage, and he didn't. Yeah. So that's when you knew something was amiss. And he comes out from behind the apron on Taz and Michael Cole's side. Springboard, Hurricane Rana right behind him, and oh my god, the way he did this, it gave me flashbacks to Eddie and him in 97. He just fucking effortlessly head scissors this guy, and Kurt is completely taken off guard, and Ray is just going nuts right out of the gate.
One hilarious thing that happened here is Michael Cole and Taz were like, "Where did he come from?" When they literally saw him, we was right in front of him, and it was like, "Oh, where did he come from?" I always think it's funny when they do that on commentary.
Well, in fairness, they were probably staring at their fucking 4x8 monitors that are like the size of fucking grapes.
That's true, yeah.
You know.
But anyhow, Rey Mysterio just starts out on fire in this match. He goes ape on Kurt Angle and just destroys him throughout much of this match using his high flying offense, but then eventually Angle just cuts him off right away with a clothesline, and he takes over the match for a while. And then eventually Ray takes back over the match. They do an awesome Hurricane Rana off the turnbuckle, which was a really nice near fall right there.
That was so good, yeah.
Ray hits the 619, and he goes for the splash, but Angle gets the knees up. Angle hits the belly-to-belly German suplex off the apron, and Ray ends up kicking out of that. And then eventually Ray goes...
It's not a belly-to-belly German as much as it was just a straight-up belly-to-belly from the top. I mean, he just fucking launches, man. Poor Ray. Holy shit.
And then eventually Ray hits the 619 again. He goes for the West Coast pop. And then eventually Angle counters that, turns it into the ankle lock, and he grapevines the ankle lock, and Ray ends up tapping out. And Kurt sort of lived up to his promise and broke Rey Mysterio's ankle.
Bro, these guys were fucking effortless. I think they go on to have like a series of matches throughout the next like 4 to 5 years, and all of them are fucking outstanding. All of them. And it's like... fucking, it's just great. It's great wrestling. Yeah. It really is.
I like that, because at the time the heel actually promised something and he delivered on his promise. And there is some backstage reports that came out that Ray was nervous about this because he had never really wrestled somebody like Kurt Angle before, so he was worried if their styles were gonna mesh. But Kurt Angle pretty much said he was gonna work Ray's style, and that's exactly what he does.
Oh my god, did he, man? Like, Angle was the pound-for-pound best wrestler in the entire world at this point. There was nobody better than Angle. There's still nobody better than Angle. I guarantee you, if you put Kurt Angle around this time period, in the time period we're currently in now, this dude could wrestle anybody's style, and he'd make it look like an instant classic every time. Put him with Okada, he'd fucking wrestle his style, and make it look effortless. Put him with fucking Kenny Omega, he wrestle his style with fucking ease. Put him with Josh Alexander. That's match of the fucking year caliber. Put him with Danielson. Holy shit, yes please. Like, there is so many matches that he could have had with those guys because he just, whatever style that they wrestled, he got instantly. He had like a photographic memory of their style, and he was legitimately a wrestling machine.
Yeah.
He did some of the best. He's did some of the best work in his career by this point as well, because he just come off the feud with Edge. He just had a great fucking triple threat in the main event, the pay-per-view previous of Vengeance with the Rockin Undertaker, which is another instant fucking classic. He goes in and has the banger open with Mysterio, and then just continues on to have that fucking awesome 2002 run, all the way up into a match at 2003 with Benoit and him, which is still one of the best fucking WWE title matches you will ever fucking see. Also on the DVD that Owen and I own. Like, he just had the greatest fucking year, probably of his professional life. I don't know about personally, and he was probably going through a lot of pain, but he just went fucking balls to the wall. He was also a part of the SmackDown 6. Completely glossing over that. The fucking Triple Threat Survivor Series match was also a classic. Like, Kurt Angle just had fucking 5-star match after 5-star match here. Like, it really is. Like, and I can't even say this is a 5-star match because it was given such short amount of time, and I wish they could have gone, like, at least, like, 5 minutes longer, which is always what goes through my head when putting this as, like, the greatest of all time. it's still fucking great though. Like this,
I've gone back and forth.
Outstanding.
I've been thinking either 3 3/4 stars or 4. I'm going 4 stars. It's such a great opening match. It's so great.
It is if you have very little time and you got to get your shit in and you have to make it look believable and realistic, this is the match you watch. Yeah. Every fucking wrestler in every school should be watching matches like that. That should be like Exhibit A on how to have a quick match and also make it feel like it's fucking minutes longer than it is.
Yeah.
Fucking outstanding, man. It's so goddamn good.
So as for where both guys went, Kurt Angle, as you talked about, was just putting on Bane matches. He would have several neck surgeries. He would have one after WrestleMania 19, which he was going to have even if the suited stuff press wasn't botched. And then, he would turn in 03, still was putting on Bane matches with Rock and Cena and all these people.
Cena, Taker, Orton. Fucking at one point, he had a fucking great match with Flair. I don't think there's one match that he didn't have that wasn't fucking great.
And then he left
he just did great. And he was a great entertainer, too. Like, I still remember that fucking segment where he's coming out in John Cena garb and rapping. That's still one of the all-timer shit, man. One of the best, funniest segments you will ever see.
And then he left in 2006 due to drug problems and creative differences, but mainly the drug problems. And then he went on to he went on to debut in TNA and put TNA on the map. Had some classic matches in TNA.
It was no longer Kurt Angle. He then became Perk Angle because, again, the drug problems.
Yeah. And he was in TNA.
Holy shit. I mean, if you can't deny the impact, no pun intended, he had with TNA.
Yeah.
Holy shit, the fucking matches he had there. He might have been the best pure wrestler by this point. This might have been primed Kurt Angle, honestly.
I know, yeah. And then, he was in TNA. Some people say he stayed there too long, which I would be one of those people. He was there until 2016, actually. I always say 2015, but I forgot he resigned in 2015. And then he left TNA. He actually, I like to mention this because he wrestled in What Culture Pro Wrestling for like a cup of coffee. Had been great matches with Cody, and I believe there was another match he had. I don't remember what it was though.
There's a good reason you don't, because it involved a wife beater.
Oh. I see.
Yes.
And then he
without fancy cars.
Then he went on.
Got accused of dragging people in. So yeah.
And then he returned to WWE. Was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2017. Became the World GM. Basically, though, he was really a shell of himself. Anytime they put him in the ring, his body was just so beaten down, and the booking was.
I think the problem is they wanted him as a non-wrestler, and that fucked him. If they kept him wrestling, I think he'd still be wrestling probably today and be retiring today. Yeah. I genuinely believe that. I think this year's SummerSlam or even Mania would have been his retirement, and they took him off the rotation, and I think that's what fucked him. Because he was still performing at a high level. Like, he was performing on the indies. He just had a fucking... on the indies, you forget to mention this, had a fucking classic with Zack Sabre Jr., which put him on the map. Yeah. That's what got him signed to the Cruiserweight Classic, is because of the match he had with Angle. Like, he was still fucking going. Like, all the way up until the What Culture days, and then they fucking didn't keep him as a wrestler. Yeah. If they'd have just let him keep wrestling, that wouldn't have been an issue. That was the fucking problem. They wanted him retired, and they fucked him over. That's what I think it is.
That's what
obviously not intentionally. Like, obviously they were trying to have his best intentions or whatever, but like, man, like, he should have had way more bangers left in him. And the only banger that I could really think of, he barely was a part of the fucking match. It was the Ronda Rousey match. That's probably like his last great match he ever had. And that sucks. That sucks to say out loud.
I remember too the storyline. It wasn't even his last Bane was more about Ronda. Because if you remember, the story's not even about Kurt Angle. It's more about Ronda Rousey. I was saying it.
Ronda and Steph, really, yeah.
Yeah, I was saying it at the time, like there was not like there was, and everyone was like, "Well, we're just getting Wanda over now." But that's what sucked about it. Like it should have been about Kurt too. Like
it should have been about Kurt, and Kurt should have been like one of those top guys in the SmackDown era when they reinvented the brand split. Like him, Angle, and Cena should have been feuding for that title. It shouldn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, you could have Angle not in every match. Like it still should have been Styles and Cena that year, but like. Angle should have been there.
He basically should have had the schedule that Edge has nowadays, where he comes in and wrestles full time here and there, and then that's it.
And even then, like, still, like, make sure he's keeping up with cardio. Make sure he's not in constant pain. Monitor him. That's fine, but I feel like Vince is a complex individual because Vince cares sometimes when it's his ass on the fucking line, and so he'll be too overbearing with caring. And like trying to fucking protect these guys that still have like a lot of good years left in them if they just keep working on the road, and it's a fucking shame.
Let's talk about the biggest shame, though. What his retirement match was against, of course, Baron Corbin at WrestleMania. A match he didn't even want. He wanted Cena. Didn't get Cena.
Everybody, and at the very least, and he even recommended why not Gable. Didn't give him Gable. Why not Jordan? Jordan got hurt. So, basically forced him into trying to put over Baron Corbin. And at that point, I mean, Mania 35, I think a lot of people gave up anyway. I sure as hell did by that point. I was just, dude, I had an opportunity to go to 35. I could have seen Kurt Angle's last match. Nope.
But I think he made a good choice because the point his last match stank. I'm sorry, but it did.
Really and then did. And it's not even the fault of Corbin. It's just they fucked him over so much.
Yeah.
So nobody cared. That's really what
happened. And then he was a producer backstage. He got furloughed, then released. During the pandemic cuts, which didn't need to happen.
And now he runs a podcast with Conrad Thompson.
And he teases a comeback here and there. So, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Angle, stop. Just leave the memories alone. It's fine.
As for Rey Mysterio, he went on to be the highlights of the WWE's Cruiserweight division, winning the title several times. He had some great tag team runs with Eddie Guerrero.
Edge, Batista.
Yeah. And then he won the World Heavyweight Championship finally at WrestleMania 22.
Would go on to be a 3-time world champ, by the way. Multi-time Intercontinental Champion. He would leave, go on the Indies, have a hell of a run on the fucking Indies, probably rejuvenated his fucking career, honest to God.
He did.
Went back to the WWE, won one more championship, even if it was by really dumb booking circumstances, with the U.S. title. Completing his full-on collection, and now is tagging with his son Dominic currently.
And at least, well, we say currently as of when this video. Let's hope Dom hasn't joined up with Judgment Day by the time this.
Let's not hope he's involved in that dead ass faction though. I love how they had something so good and then they ruin it with the stroke of a fucking pen. It blows my fucking mind.
And I feel like, too, the thing we should talk about with Ray's team with Dominic, they're the first ever father-son tag team to win WWE Tag Team Championships.
Which is fucking crazy to think about out loud. They're the only ones to do it. And they've had, like, how many? I swear they've had, like, 10 pairs of fucking father-son tag teams over the years?
Yeah.
How were they the first ones? And not
I don't know.
Rocky and Soul Man Johnson.
I don't know.
How? That's crazy to me.
Continuing, Stephanie McMahon's backstage, and this was when the brand split actually mattered. Because
I forgot I have my own notes actually. I'll just read my notes, even though I kind of said my thoughts anyway. You mentioned the brand split. The first thing I wrote for the match, for my match notes, was Cole announces with Taz and says they will be calling the SmackDown matches while JR and King call the Raw matches. Sounds harmless, right? Oh boy, wait until they shove the idea of the brand split down your throats, which they did humongously in that. The other things I wrote about the match is Kurt Angle is over when he arrives, so Mysterio with a sneak attack on Angle. So is Mysterio, I basically. Mysterio and Angle are over. Kurt Angle and Mysterio have a great David and Goliath match, but super technical throughout. Just wish they got more time, but it was a great match for 9 fucking minutes. Ray loved this match and has gone on to praise Kurt Angle for making him a star right away with this match. I miss when WWE used to make stars back then, was the final thing I wrote in my notes for this.
Yep.
You talk about the backstage segment, I literally wrote, this is what I wrote verbatim. Stephanie has ordered a random producer in the most scripted tone I've ever heard. You go tell Bischoff to follow that. Spoiler alert, they didn't. But, like...
How could you?
Holy cringe. Like,
yeah,
this was so cringe, man. Holy shit.
But basically, yeah, Stephanie McMahon... You know what, though? I at least liked back then, though, that, like, you actually felt the sense that Raw and SmackDown were actually competing with each other, at least. Not the forced way they talk about it nowadays. Like, honestly, if they did a Raw versus SmackDown Survivor Series pay-per-view later in the year, I wouldn't have complained about it because they were actually building to it back then because they had different GMs.
That's right, yeah.
And at least, you know, that's what it gave some storyline reasons of why the Raw and SmackDown, why these pay-per-views were banners, because Raw and SmackDown were trying to outdo each other at this time. So,
yeah, pretty much. And that's why a lot of people had hope still that were still watching, because it's like, wow, they have something really special here.
Yeah.
Like, especially with the talent they have. We're going to go over it throughout this fucking show. It's actually crazy how much talent was on these shows. It was fucking outstanding how much talent they had. I then wrote, she then finds Eric in the GM's office to recommend they get along and watch the show since it's a joint pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I said, man, here we go. Shoving this down our throats, huh? It's almost like they don't even believe that they will stick to this long term the way they do it. That's pretty much all I wrote. Although, again, here, if you didn't know what happens later and how they just stopped giving a shit, like, I don't even know, halfway through the decade, then, like, yeah, this is really good.
Yeah.
Like, in a vacuum, this was great. Like, they're telling the story throughout the night, all the way up until the next Raw. Like, they tell the story really good until you find out what happens later. And then, when it's out of the vacuum, then you're like, oh.
Yeah, it sucks.
Oh, there you go. So, yeah.
At least they cared about the brand split back then, though. So.
Yep, so there you go. That's all we can ask for in this time period. Stephanie is now, well, she would go on leave. She had a match with her father before she left. Ran SmackDown really for only a year, I would say. Then she ended up coming back for, I think, the Raw reunion show when they went back to USA from Spike. Then they, yeah.
Was that when they did that? Was that when they did that segment backstage too? Where, like, I remember there's a segment, by the way, where it's backstage and they like try to get Vince McMahon like introduces Stephanie McMahon to Triple H, and they act like they were never on screen together before. Like, it was like never.
Yeah.
Was that same Raw? I believe it was.
Yeah, it probably was. They did weird shit back then. Basically, long story short, she basically took a break after that. She came back at around 2009 for a story with Orton and Triple H, which was great until the match at Mania 25 sucked. She went away again. Then she came back during the Authority angle, right around the time Punk became the champion in like 2012. So she didn't take long for her to get back in the character role. She improved as a character, but then she was just on TV too much. Then they took her off after a very long and lengthy fucking run on top as the fucking heel authority figure, which, by the way, also probably had a hand in killing the fucking viewership. And now she is the at least in public eye, CEO of WWE. So there you go.
And then as for Eric Bischoff, he would be the Raw GM until 2006, and then pretty much he would make appearances here and there, but then eventually he left the company altogether. He went to TNA.
Not that it was his fault, like a lot of people claim, but him and Hogan together, mainly Hogan and mainly Russo, killed that company.
Yeah.
And he was caught in the crosshairs on a lot of the time and trying to defend the company, and probably in a juvenile way, in fairness. Looking back on it, it was a period.
And then he left. I believe he was gone by like 2013.
Yep.
And then basically now he just runs his podcast. So we'll make appearances here and there.
I think he stayed in TNA up until Hogan left, actually. So he was a producer at the very least up until Hogan left.
I'm pretty sure I remember it was Hogan and Bischoff that left at the same time, because I remember they did the Aces and Eights storyline, and they left. They left like right before the storyline ended. So I'm pretty sure whenever the Aces and Eights storyline ended was pretty much when they were gone.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and then Eric Bischoff now runs his podcast, and he'll make occasional appearances for AEW or WWE. He went into the Hall of Fame in 2021.
And he'll have really dumb takes on that very said podcast, making Conrad fucking shake his head. Hi, Bischoff. How you doing?
I thought that was Bruce Pritchard, actually, that does that.
Oh, you haven't heard his recent takes. Keep staying off social media. Do yourself a favor.
Then the next match, it was Chris Jericho versus Ric Flair.
This is probably the weakest match of the entire card, and it was still pretty decent.
Actually, I don't think it was, but I still liked it. But no bad match on the show, by the way. Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was when Ric Flair was reviving himself in the wrestling community because he thought he had lost confidence in himself, and this is when he was gaining that confidence back. Him and Jericho went into a feud pretty much. If you think about it, because we're going to review SummerSlam 2012, just basically if you've seen the Dolph Ziggler Chris Jericho feud, ironically enough, Jericho this time around was in the Dolph Ziggler role, and Ric Flair was in Chris Jericho role, where Chris Jericho kept claiming that Ric Flair
that's
lost
fucking
his touch.
Weird.
Yeah.
That's going to be really weird to go and watch 2012 knowing that. Yeah.
And they did a segment on Raw, I want to mention this, where Ric Flair attacked Chris Jericho doing his Fozzy concert, which is funny because I think Fozzy had just started forming as a band around this time, which is funny how that happened.
Fozzy legitimately started as a fucking rib and a joke, and now they're like one of the biggest wrestling-related bands in the entire world. It's fucking wild. Like, it's just crazy.
And then went on to have this match here. It's a hell of a match. Ric Flair starts off aggressive with this match, just hitting various chops on Chris Jericho and throws him viciously outside the ring. Eventually, Jericho gains control by hitting a thumb to the eye, throws Flair into the barricade. He actually exposes like the top part of the barricade and drops Flair back onto the barricade.
This looked like it sucked. I mean, fuck me. Like, holy shit.
Jericho went on to target the back of Ric Flair. Eventually, Ric Flair mounted another comeback. Eventually, Jericho hit the Bulldog into the Lion Saw, but Flair kicked out. Jericho locks Flair into the figure four, but Flair is able to reverse it. Eventually, Jericho... Actually, he doesn't even reverse it, too. I believe there's a point in the match where Jericho gets pissed at the ref, because I believe...
Yeah.
Because Flair grabs the ropes, I remember now, and he taps out as he grabs the ropes to get Jericho to release the hold.
Which is dirty as shit. I love it. Love it. Really
and
good.
Jericho gets pissed at the referee, and this ends up being his undoing, and Flair locks Jericho again into the figure four, and Jericho ends up tapping out, and Flair gets the victory. I actually thought it made sense. You could make the argument maybe Jericho should have went over here, but once you hear the backstage reports, basically Jericho insisted on putting it over Ric Flair. Like, he actually insisted on it. And not just put over Ric Flair. Flair wanted to just win dirty. He didn't want to have Jericho tap out. Jericho insisted upon this. He wanted to put over Ric Flair, so I'm not going to deny Chris Jericho. And and I don't even think Jericho comes off looking bad here. Like, he actually had the match won at one point, and he... You know, So I thought everybody looked good, all things considered. And considering what ended up happening with Ric Flair later on, in like 2 months' time anyways, I think it's actually fine in hindsight.
I mean, it's funny because, like, believe it or not, he was a heel prior. So, like, they were doing the NWO thing. He was actually working with the New World Order to try and take out Austin before Austin left and Nash tore his quads. Like, that's fucking wild. He was in conjunction at one point with the New World Order. That ended up going belly up, and they just randomly turned him face again because they just announced that it was done on air. So, like, they announced, I think it was like, and I believe Vince coming out saying Austin took his ball, went home, and the NWO being done happened within, like, a week apart from each other.
I believe you're right, yeah.
It's fucking crazy. So, like, Flair was actually a heel not too long ago before this. And then, then he just went right back to being a heel, like, 2 months later, man. Like, he was getting the Big Show treatment.
In all fairness, it wasn't WWE's fault, though, because I don't think they planned that the NWO was going to, and Austin were going to be gone within the next. The NWO thing they probably could have controlled, but the Austin thing they sort of couldn't control.
Here are my notes for the match, and this is just me taking random notes. I'm not even taking spots because I know that's what you do, but I wrote these little tidbits down. Boy, does the Ric Flair theme song suck.
Oh, yeah, that was bad.
This was terrible. A terrible rendition. I don't know why they didn't just get... It was fucking royalty free. Just get the fucking actual tune. I don't get why you had to... I don't know, whatever.
I can barely hear you. Your audio sounds like you're far away.
Motherfucker.
Okay, you're better.
Okay. Alright. How about... Alright, hold on. Because, fuck this. Hold on. I'm sick of that happening. How about now?
Yeah, better.
Okay. So I gotta sit my ass up for the rest of the fucking stream. That's great.
Sorry about that.
No, it's not your fault. It's just a shitty, damn near broken rock band microphone. I'm shocked it even still works. I don't sound like it coming in like a robot, right?
No, not at all.
Alright, good. So anyway, I also wrote, they're really pushing the idea that Jericho was a fake rock star. Boy, how the times have changed.
But now he is.
Yeah, now he actually is a rock star. And, it's crazy. I said, both men are over in their roles. Flair was having doubts around this time about his ability, and it showed. Now, if only he had the same doubts about willingly getting drunk and drugged up on a plane ride, and by proxy, sexually assaulting flight attendants.
Was this around the same time?
2002.
Oh my gosh.
Match was passable, but nothing to write home about is what I wrote after that. Jericho was the main event of WrestleMania X 8 months ago, and now he's the second match on SummerSlam against an unconfident Ric Flair. Boy, that showed just how much, they relied on Jericho, I guess.
Yeah.
How they really had so much confidence in him. So.
As for where both superstars ended up going, you had Ric Flair. He would obviously... Oh, do you have any more notes, or was that it?
That was really it. I just, the only thing that... I don't even know if we mentioned this throughout the show, so I'll mention it here, though. It was around this match that I noticed, holy shit, we watched 92. The production values are crazy.
Yeah.
Like, how different everything is compared to what 92 was. Like, it's fucking nuts.
Absolutely. Now, we're not going to go into detail of where Ric Flair went. Just go watch our SummerSlam 92 review, because we pretty much went into detail about it there.
Yeah.
So everything about everything we said pretty much holds. I think the only thing we didn't mention was this match right here. It wasn't important at the time.
Yeah.
As for Jericho, he would go on to be a really good upper mid-card superstar in WWE for a while. He would have the occasional main event title match, but never win it. He eventually left WWE in 2005 to go start up his band with Ozzy. If I had to guess, too, I have a feeling he was probably frustrated about the fact that, he couldn't get into the main events.
Yeah, I mean, it was a combination of things, really, because he was so burnt out, he said, and he really wanted to... This is right around the time he wanted to take the Fozzy thing seriously. So, and he was starting to make like actually good tunes. Like Enemy was made by Jericho, and that was like their first attempt at a serious album. And then they would go on to actually have a fucking pretty decent tour for themselves. It wasn't like anything now, but it was really good back then. For Jericho being a former wrestler starting a band, he came back. Then he had a great fucking run.
You could make the argument the run he had in 2008 to like 2010 was probably the best run of Jericho. It's definitely the top 5 runs of Jericho. The best in the world gimmick. And then he came back in 2012 with the light up jacket gimmick / best in the world gimmick. Had a pretty good run there. And basically that was
great great feud with Punk. Such a great feud with Punk.
And then basically that's when he basically started to be sort of a part-timer. He would go do his tour with Fozzy and then come back, do the wrestling thing when he wasn't touring with Fozzy. He had a great run with Kevin Owens in 2016.
Prior to the run with Kevin Owens, you forget this. He disgraced the nation's flag and almost got fucking detained. And he promptly got suspended. You forget about that bit.
He put over Fandango at WrestleMania. Which is hilarious nowadays, considering that what ended up becoming a Fandango. He had a really good feud with. He had a pretty decent feud with Bray Wyatt. Actually, I wouldn't say really good.
Really good matches with AJ Styles.
Yeah, had a great run with Kevin Owens. Probably his last real run in WWE, and then he had basically his last WrestleMania match at WrestleMania 33 against Kevin Owens. He left
he left after he won the U.S. title from KO. Then lost it the day after back to KO. He then had one last WWE match on SmackDown in a triple threat match between Kevin Owens and AJ Styles. And then he went to New Japan to probably have the greatest match outside of WWE and of his entire career with Kenny Omega.
Yeah, probably.
At Wrestle Kingdom 12, which was from top to bottom probably the best card outside of WWE we'll ever see. Definitely go watch it if you haven't.
I definitely want to. Yeah, definitely in December or like November. I want to review that show before Wrestle Kingdom.
No question. Yeah, I agree.
Probably no. I want to do it before like Christmas time because I have a feeling that's what sucks about Wrestle Kingdom. It airs like right away in January. So
yeah, so probably around the end of the year. We won't do like at that year, but we'll do it on like maybe the 1st of the new year because I think they always do it on the 4th.
Yeah. So then, he went on to have that banner match with Kenny Omega, which led to, you can make the argument AEW becoming a thing a little bit.
He would have a great freaking match with him on the cruise as well. I finally got a chance to watch that match. Fucking outstanding, those two. He ended up having a great run as IWGP Intercontinental title, having banger matches with Tanahashi. Holy shit.
Yeah, Tetsuya Naito.
Was it Naito or was it Tanahashi? I swear it was Tanahashi.
It was Naito. It was Naito.
It was Naito? Okay, that's fine.
And then he showed up at All In, the first ever professional wrestling show he ever showed up in America since WCW. Outside of WWE,
which then promptly told Vince basically, "I'm not coming back. Like I'm done with you." So,
and then he went on to He went on to be a part of AEW and got that company off the ground. Did the Le Champion gimmick.
Had one more world title run with that very title, first ever AEW World Champion.
Yeah.
And yeah. Now he went on to have two of the most influential groups in that company's early history in the Inner Circle, and now the Jericho Appreciation Society, which he is currently running to this day. So there you go.
Yep. And then, the only thing, he went on to not look in the best shape, but then proved he had some type of health issue in November 2021, which basically had to force him to get in shape pretty much.
What a fucking feud he's currently having with Eddie Kingston, by the way. I mean, holy shit. I can't wait currently, as we're recording this, the freaking barbed wire everywhere match hasn't happened yet. We're gonna be if you haven't seen it, bam, our reactions in the iCard right now. But as far as past me goes, can't fucking wait for this match.
Yeah, me too. So that's probably gonna be the last match they have. I don't even know who's gonna win that match.
Yeah, right.
And yeah, that's everything there. Then Brock Lesnar's backstage. Paul Heyman just pretty much hypes him up, saying that he's going to beat The Rock and become the new WWE Undisputed Champion. You know, it's really cool to see this because we're probably never going to see these two together again.
Yeah.
Ever. So it's nice to see this. We'll talk more about that when we actually review the match. Then we had the next match. Yeah, this is the next match.
Before you get that, because I actually have notes on this backstage segment. I said, man, what a segment! Paul Heyman hypes up Brock Lesnar and how he submitted Hulk Hogan with a bear hug, which was a rare thing to happen. That was fucking huge win for Brock. Clean as a whistle, as clean as you can get with Hulk Hogan in a fucking bear hug. Unheard of back then. Heyman says, "Wait, say that again."
He didn't just make it. They even did the thing where, because this is back then, where if you passed out, they would raise your arm 3 times. And they all actually went down 3 times. That never happens, by the way. Too.
Never with Hogan. That never happened. That was fucking unbelievable. And then, Heyman says, and I quote, "You're one step closer to being the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. You are the next big thing. And the next big thing tonight arrives." I'm like, fuck me, man. What a way. Like, what a last minute bit of hype to put over this fucking star huge. Holy shit.
You have to say that again because your audio was going in and out.
It was showing my audio. I was just, you know what I was doing. I was quoting fucking Heyman. You could tell they had chemistry even back then was the last thing I fucking wrote back then, man. Like,
I know.
They never, ever should have these two separated. Although, I will say that Brock, I think being with Heyman for so long probably rubbed off on him because he's probably better now than when they split them up the first time around the same time period. Like, not even in Survivor Series. So he's much better off now, but he wasn't then.
And don't forget when he came back. Don't forget when he came back for those first few weeks in 2012 without Heyman. He's better even then, too.
I'm going to just do this now and get it out of the way in a speed run fashion. As far as where Heyman is now, Heyman went on to basically be the general manager of SmackDown, managed Lesnar again, along with like a bunch of other freaking beefy meatheads, if you remember that time period. Nathan Jones, Matt Morgan. Yeah,
don't forget to in 2003 he was like the head writer of SmackDown, which was why SmackDown was such a good show back then. Too.
So much so that he was actually legitimately like spying on Raw's phone calls, and then they fired him for that, even though it's why I still will never understand that ever. You're in-house competition. He's not breaking any fucking guidelines, guys. Come the fuck on. Anyway, then he would go on to revive ECW along with Van Dam recommending that Vince do it because the rise and fall of ECW sold like hotcakes, DVD sale wise. He would go on to then fully revive it with Vince, who promptly then executed it with and absolutely sodomized it with zero lube. And that promptly made Heyman just say, fuck this, I'm done. He would go on to run Heyman Hustle, which is his YouTube channel, for a little bit. And then he would come back in 2012 to manage Brock again when Brock Lesnar came back. More on him later. And would go on to manage Brock and now Roman Reigns as his advocate. Both of their advocates, basically.
No, he's the special counsel.
I'm sorry, he's the special counsel. Correct. Now, as far
you're
as
also forgetting to those brief stints where he managed Punk, Curtis Axel
and Punk, and Ryback
and Cesaro for that brief period.
Yep, right. Anyway, from there you get Brock.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I feel like we should. I feel like we should save him until the main event because I feel
honestly,
like.
Yeah. I'm just getting Paul Heyman out of the way now. But yeah, there
Yeah.
you go. I'll save him for last.
Then we had the next. Oh, by the way, what do you get? What's your star rating for Ric Flair versus Chris Jericho?
Oh yeah, we haven't even done the star ratings for the opening match. Oh yeah, we did 4 stars. I gave it like 3. It was all right.
I really liked it. I gave it like 3 3/4. I thought it was a very good back and forth match.
Yeah, fair enough. Hey, it wasn't a bad match. That is my thing on that.
Yeah.
It's not a bad match on the card for sure.
We had the next match. It was Eddie Guerrero versus Edge.
Holy shit! This match ruled.
Basically the reason for this match was Eddie Guerrero was jealous of Edge because he was becoming more popular than him, and Latino Heat can't have that. So that was basically
that was the whole basis of the feud. I literally said in my notes, a great matchup here. Edge and Guerrero were the original 2 of the SmackDown 6, and it created one of the best tag team divisions in the brand's history. And it all kicked off where Eddie was jealous over Edge's good looks. Imagine that. That's crazy.
I know, yeah.
But
anyhow, very good match here. I forgot that Edge had Rob Zombie's "Never Gonna Stop" theme song.
Yeah.
It fit him pretty well back then, I guess. But
they really always talk about a fucking Dodge Durango, and I never saw Edge come out with a Dodge Durango once. I fucking hate it.
This is when Edge was really starting to catch fire as a character. He was really breaking out in the singles division. Behind the scenes, Edge was actually worried to have this match because this was when Eddie Guerrero had just come back from rehab and everything like that. So he was worried that I think, this match wasn't going to be all that good. A lot of people were willing to work with Eddie Guerrero at this time because he was kind of, a little bit of a loose cannon just coming back from rehab. So it ended up working out, I guess. So
did it ever for both of them.
Edge, immediately starts this match off aggressively. He goes right after Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero eventually targets the arm of Edge, and he targets this arm for a long time. He even hits like an arm DDT off the second turnbuckle. Really destroys his arm. Eventually, Edge mounts a comeback. He hits a jumping DDT off of the second turnbuckle, and Eddie Guerrero ended up kicking out of it. It was such a close near fall.
Yeah.
He ends up locking in the Educator. I hate the name of that move.
It's basically just a sharpshooter version of the Lion Tamer.
Yeah. I'm glad they got away from calling it that, though. This was basically when everything of Edge's moves was Edge. We had executions. We had, all that stuff. Edge hits a spear while Guerrero's on the apron, sending them both to the outside. Eddie Guerrero hits a frog splash onto the arm of Edge, and this causes him to not get the win, which I actually like that spot because Eddie Guerrero, had he not gone after the arm, would have probably won the match had he just hit a regular frog splash. But he chose to do further damage to Edge's arm. Eventually, Edge hits the spear into the execution. Eddie Guerrero taps out. Edge ends up getting the victory here. And this led to Edge and Eddie Guerrero having some great matches with each other on SmackDown.
They had a fucking awesome cage match on SmackDown. Holy shit, what a cage match.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure it was a no DQ match. You're thinking of the Jericho cage match that he had.
That's right. I forgot Jericho was on SmackDown at one point, right?
But yeah, him and Edge ended up having a great no DQ match at one point. And as for where both, do you want to give your notes first before I say we're both?
Let me do that. Hold on 1 second. So I said for this match, the only other thing I had in this match is just a fantastic back and forth with great psychology. Fantastic. It felt like every match, with the exception of Flair and Jericho, was starting to get better and better and better, which is holy shit. The card was stacked with talent, man. Stacked.
As for where both guys, they would both, like we talked about, be part of that SmackDown 6. They would be heads of the tag division, start to get that going and everything. Eddie Guerrero, would be the first ever WWE United States champion. He would form Los Guerreros. He went on, eventually to win the WWE Championship from Brock Lesnar. He would defend it at WrestleMania successfully. He lost it to JBL in the Great American Bash 2004. He would have a pretty decent run on SmackDown after that. His last great bit of greatness was the feud he had with Rey Mysterio pre the Dominic stuff. You could even make the argument that was still even okay, even though it led to that kind of crappy part of the story. And then eventually his last major pay-per-view match was with Batista for the World Heavyweight Championship, where, he was probably going to end up where he was going to win the world title from Batista, but then he ended up passing away to his heart attack. So, that's a shame. And he went into the Hall of Fame in 2006, and basically Eddie Guerrero's impact in the business is still felt today through Sasha Banks, even though she's not wrestling right now, and Rey Mysterio. And sometimes Cedric Alexander at one time. So.
Sometimes. Just about everybody does a frog splash nowadays.
And then as for Edge, he was really starting to break out. I'm assuming if he didn't get injured in 2003, he probably would have won a world championship at some point. But he just couldn't stay healthy. Eventually came back in 2003. Had a decent run with the Intercontinental Championship and everything.
Which he was promptly getting booed in his hometown of, by the way.
Yeah, it was like 03, 04. Yeah. And then he turned heel in 04, developed the Ultimate Opportunist rated superstar gimmick. Was the first superstar to win and cash in successfully Money in the Bank, and basically created the cash in of Money in the Banks that we know today.
Yep. Hold on.
And then
headphones are fucking, of course, dying right now on the left side. Continue.
And then Edge would go on to have multi-reigns with the WWE World Heavyweight Championships. He had great feuds with John Cena, The Undertaker, Batista, and Jeff Hardy, having great ladder matches and everything like that. And then, unfortunately, he ended up having to retire in 2011 because of all the damage that his neck took and all that type of stuff. And then he stayed retired. He went on to do some acting roles and stuff like that. There's a TV show that he was in that I can't think of the name of it right now off the top of my head, but whatever.
Yeah.
Haven. It's in Haven.
Yeah, Haven was a weird show. It felt like it was just trying to be Supernatural without the cast of Supernatural, really.
I wonder if that's what gave WWE the idea to try to make Judgment Day Supernatural, was because, like, well, you were in a Supernatural show at one point, and Edge was like, nah, ain't that now.
Yeah.
Anyhow, Edge was gone from the ring for a while. He returned in 2020. And probably had the last big pop before the pandemic hit. You could make the argument it was that, or when the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, Heyman, Adam Page had their match at Revolution. That was probably the last big pop the wrestling crowd had before the pandemic. Or when John Moxley won the AEW World Championship the first time. And then, he went on to have a pretty good comeback. He had a great feud with Randy Orton. They had the greatest wrestling match ever. And then he had, a great feud with Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins and The Miz. And he had a pretty good feud with AJ Styles and formed the Judgment Day, which was going well until WWE, as we talked about earlier. I don't think we did talk about it. I think that was in the first take. But as we talked about, WWE is now dropping the ball with. And it looks like Edge is going to go back to the Brood gimmick to face a group that can barely get any wins on Raw. So I don't know how that makes sense, but whatever.
Yeah, who cares at this point now? Yeah, they really kind of screwed the pooch on his run after the pandemic was over, pretty much. I would say they done any favors. Last great thing he had was a feud with fucking Roman, really.
No, Seth.
I guess so. I guess, yeah, maybe.
You know what's kind of weird too? Right when they started to drop the ball with Edge and his comeback, AEW started to use Christian even better. Isn't that kind of weird how that happened?
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe something's gonna happen. I'm just saying.
Maybe. At this point, I'm pretty sure he's one of those people that just wants out too, and he wants to go to WWE at this point. But yeah.
You mean AEW? You mean
I'm
AEW?
sorry. Yeah, AEW. Right.
Then we had a WWE ad. I don't really remember what it was about.
I'll tell you exactly what it was. WWE propaganda promo. Our season never ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is what this was. What a crazy promo where they're just attacking the NFL and the MLB especially and other sports for having an off season. Oh, and basically Vince saying those pussies and their contract disputes.
Yeah.
That's what the hell was. Fucking hell. During this time, the MLB were going under a little strike in 2002. One of like 50 million. So they were targeting them also in this, basically to build around their brand. Cutthroat Vince is going to be Cutthroat Vince. So there you go.
Yeah. Then the Un-Americans got interviewed backstage, and they talked about, basically the matches for tonight. How Test was going to beat the Undertaker.
I got notes on this. I got a lot of notes on this. Hold on. The Un-Americans. You forget that that's the faction. They are the Un-Americans. And Coachman's interviewing them, and he's asking them, "So, what are you doing here? Like, what do you hope is the goal for tonight?" And and Christian is basically the first to be on the stick. And I said, "You look at the collection of guys with Test, Christian, and Lance Storm, and then later William Regal, and you could see something special from a pure in-ring talent standpoint." They could have rivaled the Hart Foundation, mainly because Bulldog slowed down and Jim Neidhart always sucked in the ring.
Yeah.
But boy, oh boy, promo-wise, they don't have anything on the Hart Foundation. They proceed to cut the most scripted promo I've ever heard. Now, to Storm's credit, anything that he sounded that sounded scripted actually worked because the way he said it with such conviction. Christian says, and I quote, "We can't wait to expose Booker T and Goldust for the American shames that they are. The only problem is, we have to do it here in Long Island." Coach asks, "What do you mean by that?" Storm quoted, and I quote, this is what he says, "What do we mean by that? We perform in cities all over the country, and this American crown typifies American audiences. They're lazy, unappreciative, unresponsive, and spoiled." Like, I can't begin to describe how good Storm was here. Because, in this one line, I'm like, this is the same guy that said that he was fucking boring? Like, does Vince just equate, boring to intelligent? And he just puts them in the same fucking bracket here?
Yeah.
What the fuck? And then I'm like, so I heard that, I'm like, holy shit, this was great. And Christian actually sucked here. I'm not even gonna fucking stunt with you. He sounded awful here. It's like, he didn't sound awful when he went to TNA. He damn sure doesn't sound awful right now, currently. But, when he's got a script in front of him, they make him sound like absolute shit.
Yeah.
And I said, Storm's delivery of these lines sounds natural to him, if I'm being perfectly honest. Where Christian's is the complete opposite. He says, and I quote, Christian this being, "And the sickening part about it is that they're always sitting on their hands while athletes like myself and Lance will be performing at a world-class level. But just like greedy Americans." Yeah, it sounds as forced as it sounds. They are always wanting more. They want more? We'll give them more. More of the Un-Americans as WWE World Tag Team Champions. And I'm like, oh, why didn't you just fucking let Storm talk? Why didn't you just let Lance Storm talk, man? Why? Just let him fucking do the scripted shit. He sounded so good.
I know, he did.
It's so good. And fuck me, it's so cringe, man. I'm like, God, that's so cringed and forced. This is a far cry from his instant classic Christian Cage run in TNA. Hell, even his ECW debut, Christian was better than this shit. Like, it's bad, man. It's not great. But there you go. That's all I really wrote for the promo. I had a lot to write down on promo wise than I did for the Un-Americans, but I had a little list prepared here. Okay, and these are the top 10 names in no particular order for the Un-Americans instead of being called the Un-Americans. I always thought the name was kind of just so lazily put together, right? So this is what I wrote, right? These are the names that I came up with. 10 of them. They are, in no particular order. Oh, please do Hulk Hogan impressions for this. Number 10, if you could.
I won't be able to. I'm not good at impressions.
Okay, fair enough. Number 10, the Non-Patriots. Number 9, the Un-Foundation. Number 8, the Pro-Canadians. Number 10, 9, 8, 7. Number 7, Lance Storm and the rest.
Yeah, that's how it was.
Number 6, the Canadian Goof Troop. Number 5, CC, a.k.a. Cringe Canada.
I like that one.
Number 4, the Whacking Waving Upside Down Waving Flagmen.
Yep, because that's what they did.
Number 3, the Canadian Terrorists. Number 2, we hate America. We hate Mr. America, and you should too. And my favorite, number 1, the Special Olympics American Color Guard.
I like that one.
So there you go. Top 10 names for the Un-Americans. There you go. There's my little tidbit there for the Un. All right, match time. There you go.
So yeah, next match was for the WWF tag team titles. I believe that's the name of the belts at the time because I forgot to write it down in my notes. But it was the World Tag Team titles that became exclusive to Raw in 2002, all the way to 2008, actually 2009. It was Booker T and Goldust, so as some people like to call them, Book Dust, I think, as the tag team name, challenging Christian and Lance Storm for the WWF Tag Team Championships. And yeah, it was a pretty damn good match here. This was when they were really starting to put Booker T and Goldust together as a tag team. They had various backstage skits, one of them specifically when they were dressed up as Star Wars characters and things like that. So it basically turned Booker T babyface. This was before, they really started to screw up with Booker T at WrestleMania 19 and all that type of stuff. This was when he was actually starting to get really over and all that type of stuff. And they went after the Un-Americans for the WWF Tag Team titles. I'm sorry, WWE Tag Team titles. Yeah, they had a pretty good. This was a pretty damn good tag team match here. Basically, hits everything that you would like. The babyface team gets the advantage throughout much of the match, really going after Lance Storm. Eventually, they get the heat on Goldust, which you would expect Goldust to be the guy that gets beaten down throughout much of this match, and they do some really good double team tag team moves on Goldust. Eventually, Booker T gets the hot tag. I actually like what they did here. They did a spot where he got the hot tag. He actually started to get some offense in, but the ref didn't see it, so they actually cut off the hot tag. I've never seen that before.
So
I thought that was
good. The match was so good, man. And by the way, as stupid as they were, the Un-Americans were getting heat. Big time heat, man. Big time heat.
And so they ended up getting the heat on Goldust some more. And then Booker T finally got the hot tag. It was official this time. Ref saw it and everything. And Booker T and Goldust just hit some really good double team tag team moves. They actually did the Tower of Doom spot at one point. It was really good.
It was so good, yeah.
Booker T hits the scissors kick, but it gets broken up before he can get the pinfall. Eventually, I believe the finish was the Un-Americans.
They were distracting the ref. Yeah, they distracted the ref. In comes Andrew Test Martin, big old Canadian boy with the big boot, securing the win for the Un-Americans.
I like this. I thought this was a pretty damn good match. Yeah, like I said, this was a pretty good tag match. And, you could have made the argument that maybe Booker T and Goldust probably should have got the win here, but considering the fact, this is the benefit of hindsight, considering the fact of who they ended up winning the championships from anyways at the end of 2002, I don't really have a problem with it. So
there you go. My notes for this match were as follows, because I was just checking around the crowd and around the ringside to see if I could find any obscure shit. I said, first sighting of the Get the F Out shirt on a WWE cameraman.
Yeah.
And I also said, Beach Ball Mania running wild. Spotted fans passing beach balls in the crowd for fun. This is before they made a big-ass fucking deal about it and fucking always showed fans having fun with fucking beach balls.
Yeah.
What a sign on the Hardcam sign. Which literally reads, and I quote, Un-Americans equals Canadians in the closet. Holy shit.
Oh, yeah, I remember that
Fucking
now, yeah.
hell. What the hell? That shit's crazy. Another sign says, can you dig it? And the way they spell it is CANUDG it. Because of the way Booker T says it, so it sounds like, can you dig it? The center says Booker T, and then says sucka. And then so the sign literally says, can you dig it, Booker T, sucka.
Yeah.
Grammar! Yeah! While the gimmick is so tacky, and there were better gimmicks that preceded this one, they were hated by the crowd. Got the baby faces over big time. Two teams worked extremely well together. Decent match, and the crowd was into it. So I give this like a 3 3/4. Like, it was really good.
I thought it was pretty damn good. I give it 3 1/4. It was a pretty damn good tag match here.
I enjoyed it. I had fun with this for sure.
As for where everybody went, the Un-Americans, even though we're going to be talking about another member of the group later on, we'll just say now, they went on to hold the tag team titles. They eventually lost them to Kane and the Hurricane later on in the year, and then they eventually just went on a massive losing streak and eventually just broke up as a stable.
Because they didn't like the heat that they were getting, and Regal was like, I fucking revel in this shit. What's wrong with you guys?
Yeah. So then Christian went on to form his tag team with Chris Jericho. They won the World Tag Team Championships from Kane and the Hurricane. And then they would go on to lose the tag team titles to Booker T and Goldust. So that's why I'm okay with Booker T and Goldust. Because, I thought they beat a bit.
They ended up winning anyway in the end.
Yeah. And then Jericho and Christian would go on to have their feud, which allowed Christian to get Trish Stratus as his manager, and then eventually Tyson Tomko.
They had a great match between at WrestleMania 20, which then ended with Christian, Lips, and Trish. They kind of went on an uneventful run, like Christian. Then he would go on to try and compete for the WWE title until he didn't win it, and he was sick of not being treated as a serious contender and just as a Passover guy. So he went to TNA, became the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. I think a total of 3.
It was the Impact. Not according to last year. It was the Impact World Championship. It was never the NWA World Championship.
All this for pissing Thanks all this for pissing Impact off, you prick. Anyway, he went on to win that 3 times. Came back to WWE, won the ECW title for what felt like a fucking eternity, because they just did not give a single shit about the brand or its top champion. He went to win the world title and then lose it after beating a certain wife beater for it in a ladder match, TLC match.
He lost it after 2 days, but because of tape delay, it ended up being 5 days.
It ended up being a 5-day reign. He then won the title back via disqualification. Admittedly, had a fucking awesome match with Orton. Lost the belts and never sniffed it since, pretty much.
I'll admit their feud was really good. It just I didn't really think it did. I thought it made Christian look weak coming out of it.
I agree.
I agree. He pretty much after that went on to become after his world title run, he basically stayed in the mid card for a while, get an occasional world title.
He then
match.
silently retired until he came back in the WWE Royal Rumble. Then got signed by AEW as their next big signing. Went on to have a fucking great match with Kenny.
Yeah.
Kenny Omega, and then Now he's in a feud with Jungle Boy after managing.
Well, you're forgetting too the last Impact one he had, even though it was part of AEW,
Impact
but
World
still
Champion. Yeah, won it from Kenny Omega and another great match on Rampage. I forgot about that.
Yeah,
that was really good.
Let's
and
also
a great
talk
match
about
with Josh Alexander. Fuck, he had a great 2021. Damn.
Yeah. But let's also talk about, too, the fact that, like, WWE, he wasn't even signed by WWE when he went into the Royal Rumble. He was signed by Fox. Then his contract was up, and WWE just didn't re-sign him, so he went to AEW. Like, it was so stupid. In hindsight, I'm kind of glad he ended up signing with AEW.
Very glad.
Because let's be real, like, if he had just stayed with WWE, he probably just would have been, like, a lackey for Edge. You know that was probably going to happen.
Fuck yes, he would have been, yeah. And he knew it, he knew it.
And then as for Lance Storm, basically, he really didn't do all that much. He got the whole.
I will say what he did do, because he did have an eventful career after post WWE.
I'll say his WWE one. He went on to, basically stay in the mid card. They did that stupid storyline with him, where Stone Cold Steve Austin kept calling him boring on all that type of stuff.
Absolutely buried him. He then tried to be like Val Venus, which also sucked.
Yeah.
And then he just was done. He became a producer for a little bit. He had one final WWE match, which wasn't even on a WWE pay-per-view. It was on an ECW One Night Stand against Jericho, which was a very good match. Probably one of the best opening matches in 2005, WWE-wise. He then would leave WWE and go on to have a fucking great match with Bryan Danielson for the Ring of Honor World Title. And then would just kind of hang around the indies until he just eventually quietly retired. He had a fucking awesome match with Jerry Lynn, which Matt Hardy would not stop calling 5 stars. And then eventually he just quietly rode off into the sunset. And now he is doing a podcast with Brian Alvarez. So,
yeah, and now he went on to become a producer for WWE post-retirement, and then he got furloughed because of budget cuts, they claim.
Yeah, sure.
And then he was a producer for he's actually a producer for Impact now, too, which is kind of ironic because he always shit on Impact, so it's kind of ironic he's a producer for it.
It's fucking funny how times have changed.
Yeah. As for Booker T, I don't even want to get into the WrestleMania 19 stuff. We already talked about it. We don't need to talk about it again.
Yeah.
He basically, would be an upper mid-card act.
He had a World Tag Team title run with Rob Van Dam, then went to SmackDown, hated being on SmackDown, which turned him heel. Then he became a face because they needed faces to fight JBL for the world title. Didn't win the world title. He would continue to be a babyface Booker T until he won the King of the Ring, which they brought back in 2006. Beating Benoit. Then he would go on to be King Booker, which finally gave him a fucking world title. Fucking goddamn shame. That's what gave him the damn world title.
I wish he would have gotten he should have gotten the world title at least once as Booker T.
I agree.
And then
goes on to have a feud with Batista. Eventually loses the world title
in real life.
Yeah, it had a fucking shoot fight. Yeah, on a SummerSlam set. In 2006. So
I wish they did like the WWE 24s or something back then, so we could have
heard. Oh my god, that would have been phenomenal, man.
But then he went on to after he lost the world title, he basically stayed the King gimmick, and then he finally got.
He eventually what ended up happening was he was done. He was so burnt out.
Yeah.
When Benoit did what he did, that was pretty much the straw that broke the camel's back for him, and he was done from there. He needed the break, and he needed to just go.
I think he got suspended too.
He did get suspended anyway. He finished his commitment, had a match with Triple H in SummerSlam 07. It's funny how all these things happen in SummerSlam, and then promptly left. He went to TNA because he was wrestling still, but he was basically on vacation. I mean, he even said he was treating it like a vacation. He was in the Main Event Mafia, and then that was done. They couldn't keep his contract, and Booker just didn't want to be there anymore because he was fucking sick and tired of everything that was going on there. I kind of don't blame him, to be fucking honest. Then he went back to the WWE in 2012. Actually had a pretty goddamn great feud with Cody after his return in the Rumble. It was the 40-man Rumble, by the way. That was run by a fucking wife.
That was 2011.
Yeah, I'm sorry, 2011. That's right. He then had a great feud with Cody. Probably his last big, high-profile feud, and it was for the Intercontinental title against Cody Rhodes. And then he became a commentator. Said shucky ducky quack quack a lot. Then he was done with WWE. Still kind of appears for them. Now runs reality wrestling and also has the Hall of Fame podcast, which a lot of people decide to misrepresent because IWC sucked dickhole. Yeah!
He actually just had a match at Reality of Wrestling recently, actually, too.
Yes, he did. And then Goldust, if you want to go over that real quick.
Yeah, so Goldust went on to, have the tag team run with Booker T. And then he got, electrocuted, and they made a thing out of it where he was eventually...
For years, he had this stuttering problem. Even up to his return in ECW, he had this.
And then he basically didn't really do that much in, 03 and 04. He was mainly on Heat and all that type of stuff. He left, I believe, in 05. He went to TNA in 2006. I don't know when this exactly happened, but there's a point where he has a match at some indie show here. Steve Coakley's talked about it a couple of times, and it was when he was fat and stuff, and he had some type of wrestling match where he fell through a table.
I remember that. Oh, you talking about Black Rain?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So then he wrestled as Black Rain, and that sucked. So he left, and he was back in WWE by 2006 again. No, I think he was back in 08.
Yeah, it was 08. He was back. He ended up. So he had 2 different stints with the WWE prior to the TNA run. Then he was in TNA twice. Once as Dustin Rhodes, and then he went back as Dustin Rhodes, and then became Black Rain there. And then ECW happened. He was still doing the stupid stuttering gimmick.
And then he left again in 2010 after being so misused. He was in that weird thing where he was obsessed with the $1 Million Championship, and that was his last hurrah in WWE.
I forgot that was his last. Yeah,
and then he was
Yasi Jr. Yeah.
And then he was he became pretty much a producer backstage for a while. And then this is what rejuvenated his career, was in 2013 when he had the tag team run with Cody Rhodes, and they won the tag team titles several times. That was
fucking epic match with the Shield. Everybody go watch that match if you haven't already. I think that might have been a SummerSlam too.
No, it was Battleground.
It was Battlegrounds. That's right. I forgot about that. Go watch it. Shield's Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins taking on Rhodes and Dustin and Cody. It's fucking outstanding.
And then he would have great tag matches with the likes of the Usos, the Real Americans, even Rey Mysterio and the Big Show.
Fuck, the New Age Outlaws. They came back for their own run because of what Dustin did, and they had a fucking great tag team cage match on Raw. I still remember it to this day. It was the first time Cody did the moonsault off the cage.
Yep. And then
Stardust happened, and it was promptly ruined.
Stardust happened. It started out well, and then he stayed Stardust too long, and then they feuded. Vince gave up on it because he didn't think it was getting over, which it wasn't, but it wasn't their fault. It's WWE didn't really care about it. Mm-hmm. So then they went their separate ways. Goldust got injured. He came back. He did a tag team run without Truth, which was them trying to create the Booker T days, but it wasn't as good
at all.
Then he turned heel on our Truth. He did the whole Shadow Machine thing, Shadow Productions thing. He was supposed to have some type of mentor or something, but they forgot about it.
Why is he needing a mentor? Yeah.
The opposite. He was gonna mentor somebody else.
Who cares? Anyway, point is, AEW became a thing. He then promptly begged to get out of his contract with Vince. Fucking begrudgingly let him go. He went on to
believe it or not, a lot of officials had to basically have Vince let him go. That was pretty much what happened. It wasn't even Vince. He had to be talked into it.
Yeah, he had to be talked into it, and then he had that awesome match with Cody, the real feud. Not the WWE version, the real feud between Cody and Dustin, and a fucking goddamn short time frame. Probably the match that kicked off AEW's serious competition.
Casey's first match he ever saw anything AEW, actually. So
yeah, it was that, and what a fucking first match to be introduced.
And then he went on to just have a really good run. He had a really good match with Jake Hager at Revolution. A really good tag team run with QT Marshall.
Yep. He actually competed for the world title and the TNT title numerous times. So he's always somewhere in the upper echelon. Always.
Yeah. Now
he's basically a part-timer and running his school, Rhodes Wrestling Academy.
Yeah. So there you go for Dustin. Next, they showed from New York Times Square was Jamie Noble and Nydia.
I have this entire segment written down.
Yeah, why don't you talk about it?
Jamie Noble and Nydia does a thing at WWE The World, because it used to be WWF New York and now it was WWE The World, which showed you where the hell that was going to be in about a year's time. Out of business. Bankrupt, if you will. Jamie Noble and Nydia basically have fans, and they're deciding which one Nydia's going to make out with. And fan 2 wins, and they cut to them making out, and then Jamie Noble is basically like, yeah, get her, girl, get her done. I'm like, fuck me. Oh my god.
It was so cringe.
I mean, Jamie Noble was great in his role. I will say that. I mean, but man, was this low-rent television. Backstage, our segment then cuts to Eric Bischoff and Stephanie McMahon, where Eric Bischoff then says, oh wow, Nydia would be perfect for Raw. Finally, a woman who knows her place in the industry. I'm like, oh god.
Probably not the best time to watch that now that we think about it.
No, not at all. Stephanie McMahon then says, Eric, a woman belongs in one place on the wrestling industry. It's mine, on top. I'm like...
Yeah, not the best time to be watching this.
Gets worse. Eric then says, we'll see who's on top. Looks at her an uncomfortably long time, and then says, in the night, when RVD brings the IC title back to Raw. And I just wrote after all of that, what the fuck?
Yeah. The Jamie Noble and Nydia segment was cringe. I didn't really hate the Eric Bischoff Stephanie McMahon segment. That was whatever. I don't really count these stuff as part of the show. This is just kind of outside of the space-time continuum type of show. This doesn't exist in my mind.
Yeah. It was something for sure, especially in the world. Apparently, you got to make out with Nydia. What the fuck is going on?
So as for where Jamie Noble went, he went on to become multi-time
cruiserweight champion, actually. Yeah. And then they promptly killed the division in 2007 with Hornswoggle in a match he was in. And then he had a really weird feud with Chuck Palumbo, and that wrote him off, and then he just became a backstage producer until he showed back up on screen
as J&J Security.
As J&J Security, along with Joey Mercury, alongside Seth Rollins.
Well, they acted like he never wrestled before. It was like he was never a wrestler. It was weird.
Yeah. And whatever. Basically.
As for Nydia, she's just chilling. We'll just say that. I don't know where she is. She's just chilling.
She's chilling, man. Probably making out with that guy.
It could be, yeah.
Probably getting her done. There you go.
And then we had the next match. It was the first time ever. It was an interpromotional match for the Intercontinental Championship. It was Chris Benoit defending the title, who was representing SmackDown, versus Rob Van Dam, who was representing Raw. This was pretty cool because, it was two opposing brands going at it.
And it was for the Intercontinental title, so it really made this match feel like a big deal.
Whoever won this match was going to get the Intercontinental, that brand anyway, was going to get the Intercontinental Championship. This was stemmed off because Chris Benoit beat RVD for the Intercontinental Championship, so this was RVD's rematch clause. They ended up having a great match for the Intercontinental Championship.
And honestly, as great as the opener was, a lot of people, I feel like another reason why the opening match is overhyped is they call it the match of the night. Fuck no. This was the match of the night. This was, by this point, this was the match of the night.
Yeah, I would say, if I had to say, this was the wrestling match of the night. That's what I would say.
No question. Although, it's weird because they had the wrestling match of the night, the sports entertainment match of the night, the main event, and the fucking hardcore match of the night, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
Or the spectacle of the night. Like, all on the same show, which is probably why this show is regarded so highly.
Well, yeah, so, Chris LVD starting off by using a lot of his high-flying moves to try to get an advantage on Chris Benoit, which sometimes it worked, but Benoit was so technically sound and so more powerful that sometimes it didn't. Chris Benoit targeted the shoulder of LVD throughout much of this match. He locked him into the crossface at one point, and LVD had to fight to get out of it. And I was actually thinking to myself, so is the match going to be really short then? Because Chris Benoit's already done his... Because he does his crossface like minutes into the match, too. So I'm like, is the match just going to be really short there?
Yeah,
but the match was...
Yeah, it goes on. He keeps trying to lock this thing in over and over again. But the way they did it, it never felt boring because he was always working on the arm.
Yeah.
In like really innovative ways. This was so fucking great. I mean, the match psychology between these two was like second to none. It's like you thought they would have wrestled like Jerry Lynn and RVD for years.
Yeah.
Like it was
RVD,
like these two gelled like a well-oiled machine, dude.
RVD eventually mounts a comeback. He hits split-legged moonsault onto the outside while Chris Benoit was standing up. And then he actually locks in a crossface himself on Chris Benoit where he has to struggle to get to the ropes.
Which was really great.
Yeah, I couldn't believe RVD actually did a crossface because he's not really known for his technical wrestling ability. So
yeah, you don't sleep on Van Dam as far as technical goes, man. Like if you watched his early ECW days as television champion, world television champion, some of the best work of his entire career. And it really took me back to that time period. It's like, holy shit, this is Van Dam being like the multi-tool athlete that he really should be utilized as. Like
Chris Benoit actually hits the double arm suplex off of the turnbuckles, and RVD gets a really nice near fall out of it. Then eventually, RVD ends up hitting the 5-star frog splash onto Chris Benoit, gets the win, becomes new Intercontinental Champion. And then, that was the match. Great match here.
4.5 stars. I fucking love this match. It was so good.
It was a great match. I went 4, but now that I talked about it, I'm gonna go 4.5 stars.
It was the match of the night by this point. As far as from technically, this was match of the night, man. Like this fucking ruled. The notes I have for this are basically tidbits. Again, just stuff I noticed. IC title Oval. The Oval title is censored. They still have the WWF logo on it. So
right.
When Benoit came out with it, and he was a SmackDown guy holding the belt, by the way. Man, when Van Dam came out, was he ever over? Holy shit! Signs everywhere for Rob Van Dam. Like it flooded with signs in this arena for him. Like he was over as shit, and this is a guy who never cut a decent promo while in WWE because they scripted him to say whatever and cool, and he was still fucking over.
Yeah.
Holy shit. I said right after that, man, do I miss signs in the crowd. Fuck you, social media.
Yeah.
Also, when he came out, man, the strobe lights were insanely bright for entrances. It was nauseating. All night, it was nauseating. Holy shit. Like, and I'm specifically talking about the ones that flash. So, like, Benoit's was fucking blinding. Like, don't watch this if you are prone to seizures, put it that way. It was fucked. There's a reason why they've adjusted it to that point, man. Probably the worst that I've ever seen it being was Scott Steiner's entrance. Fuck.
I actually... At the time, good that I wasn't a fan back then, because I would have developed a seizure back then, probably.
Yeah, probably. It wouldn't have been good. Benoit was right in Magoo. Holy hell, he was ripped.
Let's not talk about that right now. That's really no joke. I can't really make a funny joke.
No, there really isn't. You could tell. You could tell he was not the same guy he was in WCW at all. Still fucking wrestled like him, but still.
Yeah.
The match was the stiffest of the night, and quite frankly, this was a supreme matchup. Both guys looked great for the and was the match of the night thus far. Got plenty of time. And it cuts for a second to Eric Bischoff and Stephanie McMahon watching this match. Eric saying, "I love this," and I said, "I agree." I agree. What a fucking bass this was, man. This was so good.
And then, as for where both wrestlers ended up being, Chris Benoit,
Nope. Just, you know what? Nope.
There was some good things. Like, he went on to become one of the first WWE Tag Team Champion with Kurt Angle in a great tag team. Him and Angle went on to have that match at the Rumble you talked about. That was actually not that long after this.
He had a great match with Eddie Guerrero for the inaugural WWE US title, which was also really good.
He went on to win the Royal Rumble in 2004, won the World Heavyweight Championship in that great triple threat match with Shawn Michaels and Triple H.
Where him and Eddie Guerrero then hugged, which can never be shown again.
And then, you could make the argument he had an underwhelming world title reign. The matches were good, but, obviously his character wasn't the best.
His Backlash triple threat match was even better than the WrestleMania one. Definitely go watch that if you haven't.
And then he went on to have some great matches for the U.S. Championship, and then nope. That's it. Bye. See ya.
Bye. See ya. Yep. He then becomes Invisible Man, and rightfully fucking so. There you go.
And it leads to jokes where, like, every time he holds a championship, it's lost. You can't find it anymore. So.
Yeah. There you go.
And then, as for Rob Van Dam, he went on to get buried by Triple H, unfortunately, for a little bit. He was an upper mid-card guy, tag title guy for a while.
He won the WWE Tag Team titles with Mysterio a couple times.
Yeah.
Actually had a pretty underrated feud with Kenzo and Renee. Like, they really put those guys over. And then they just promptly released them because WWE didn't even want to know what to do after that.
And then he went on to win Money in the Bank at WrestleMania 22. And,
challenged Cena for the WWE title. And became a double champion on that night, winning the ECW and also holding the WWE World title for the first time in his career. Then got busted for weed and promptly had to get rid of both. And then he left in 2007 after a pretty damn good feud with Orton, which actually started the Apex Predator character, the Viper character of Randy Orton. I think that really started it off. And then
he went on to he would show up one more time at the Rumble in 2009, and then he went on to sign with TNA. He won the world champion there. You can make the argument he was like one of the last great world champions before in the Hogan and Bischoff era.
It was weird because, like, a lot of people didn't want him to win, and a lot of people had a problem that he had a clause in his contract that the first year he would not do jobs. But there's a reason why he did that, because otherwise he would have ended up like a lot of the other ex-WWE guys they were bringing in, who, by the way, even if they were winning, they looked like shit. So I think he had a creative clause controlled in his contract of who he wanted to work with, which is why you had great matches with Styles, which is why you had great matches with Sting, which is why you had a fucking great match with Abyss.
That probably explains why he lost the title so weirdly, because he faked the title because he didn't want to do any jobs.
He did not. Originally it was originally supposed to be a matchup between Hardy and Van Dam, where Hardy was going to win the belt, and Van Dam was like vetoed it, and I'm like, and people pitched, like, I remember this was during YouTube, RVD Tito for Life, who, by the way, I do a live intro, bam, live rounds, go check it out. I do the intro for that. Bill and Doug literally recommended they should have just done Angle and Van Dam, because that made the fucking most sense out of any feud they could have done, and Van Dam could have fucking kept the title.
Yeah.
And that would have been the best feud they could have done for the Bound for Glory main event, but instead Immortal happened.
And then he went on to have a pretty. After that, he really didn't do much in TNA. I think he just stopped caring. He went on to have occasional Beta matches, but that's only when he cared.
Yeah, he had the X Division title at one point.
Really didn't do much with it though. He would only show up like once a month. I remember there was a time where like he had a match with Christian York that was like really just him going through the motions. He really didn't care.
Yeah.
And then he lost the belt to Kenny King, which was really weird because I remember the finish was really botched. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. And then he basically just eventually ended up leaving. Went back to the WWE in 2013. Had matches. Had really good matches, even though it was with a wife beater for the world title. Never won it.
And then he had his last one in WWE in 2014 ever, where he was just putting over guys like Wade Barrett and.
I think it lowered his fucking stock in the industry the way they jobbed him. Like,
yeah,
that time period, it was really not great. And they did the same thing with the Dudleys. Like, they really fucked their legends over a lot.
And then he went back to Impact, I believe, was it 2018?
Yes.
But he went back to Impact.
He ended up having a face run. And then he turned heel with Katie Forbes on Moose. Was supposed to have a...
No, it wasn't Moose he turned heel on. He turned heel on Rhino, if you remember.
Right, Rhino, that's correct, yeah. And then he went to have a feud with Moose after. And then he was supposed to have a faction called Cancel Culture with Katie Forbes. And then one of the members of Cancel Culture actually got canceled. So.
And then, also pandemic happened too, I think, too.
Yeah, so. Right around the same time. So he ended up basically leaving, and now he's basically just like, I'm gonna smoke weed and let my hot ass girlfriend do the work for me.
He did go into the Hall of Fame in 2021 too. I think so. That was the WWE Hall of Fame.
Oh, you mean the one where they couldn't have a crowd? No, never mind.
One segment I want to make sure we talk about that he had is I remember there was a segment in Impact. He was doing these segments where he would just be at his house high as shit. Doing. I remember there was one specifically where he promised he'd be in the Impact Zone. And then he went, and it was static.
Oh, right, and the one that got him kicked off Twitch, right? Because they... That's right! They got banned off Twitch! Because Van Dam! Oh my god, man. That was a time. That was a trip. He got banned for simulating sex with whipped cream with two female broads in his bed. I can't believe he did this towards the tail end of his career. Could you have imagined... Seriously, could you have imagined if they did this back when he showed up to Impact the first time in 2010? How better his run would have been. Holy shit.
You know what the stupid thing about it, too, was everybody hated the Van Dam whole effing show thing. When it actually finally would have fit him, they changed his theme song, too. Like, it was so stupid.
Oh, my fucking god, yeah. Yeah, he had, like, some weird, like...
Yeah.
I don't even know how to describe it. It was like some weird, like, Indian, like...
I don't even know.
Meditating music. I have no idea how to describe his theme back then. It was really bad. But, yeah. Hall of Famer. Never change, Ron. Never change.
I want to talk about the last Stephanie McMahon, Eric Bischoff segment of the night.
Mm-hmm. So, backstage with Stephanie and Eric Bischoff, I promptly write, again. It was getting nauseating by this point. However, there was a point to this. Bischoff gloats that they now have the IC title in the possession, away from Stephanie McMahon. But Stephanie laughs maniacally. Why? More on that at the end of the show.
Yeah. And then we had Undertaker versus Test. Not much of a story here. Pretty much Undertaker was feuding with the Un-Americans, and he got laid out by Test at one point, so it led to this match. This is when Undertaker had that bad generic music as his American Badass theme. It was really bad.
Yeah,
I don't know why, but...
This is before You're Gonna Pay lyrics, so it was just a really weird... It was just like Jim Johnson's like, hey guys, look, I can play guitar.
That was so bad.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty
cool,
bad
dude.
here. Actually, believe it or not, Undertaker wrestles at all 3 SummerSlams we're about to review. Believe it or not, this is his best match he has at any SummerSlam that we're going to review.
Yes.
Undertaker was not exactly Mr. SummerSlam, if you know what I mean. Like he is Mr.
Yeah, he is.
And it's not necessarily, I don't think, his fault. It's just he's always either given really bad dance partners or the booking of his matches is always so bad. Because the next match we review, he was given a pretty good dance partner. Just the booking was shit. This was a good match here. This was when Undertaker basically turned face forever and never really went heel again, except for that weird time in 2015 where I think he was meant to be heel, but no one really wanted.
But they didn't want to boo. Who the fuck was going to boo the Undertaker by this point?
I know.
Yeah, it was totally weird. But real quick, before you even get to the matchup, I have to say this: a promo airs of using stock footage of the Patriots in New York City, along with crowd footage of the post 9/11 SmackDown show. So you could tell they were still using that to their.
You know what? I think I skipped this because it involves sports, and I didn't have any interest in watching that, so that's why I didn't.
Yeah, that's not what it was. It was just them showing crowds of American people, basically. And then basically they go on to it shows the promo of them hating America and explains their actions on why they turn on America and turn the flag upside down. And it was unbelievable because then I wrote, when I saw this package, I said, they said Lance fucking Storm had no personality? Are you fucking me? He was so good in this package and actually sold the idea of the name Un-Americans to me and why they have the flag upside down. No personality, my ass. He sold the whole thing to me. Lance Storm says, and I quote, "You see this upside down flag? It stands for the upside down beliefs and values of American society." And I'm like, oh my God. Because the whole time I'm thinking this is dumb. In fact, if you look at it in a vacuum, it is. And then you hear Lance Storm speaking, and I'm like, I'm sold. Okay, you got me. Why did you never do anything with this guy?
I know.
This guy was so good! Don't get me wrong, he's not like Shawn Michaels level. I get there's a specific way he speaks, but man, if you want to talk about underrated fucking talents, man, holy shit. That's incredible to me. But yeah. And Christian says, and again, comparatively to Christian, because he also cuts a promo in that package, how is it that you can this was actually admittedly pretty funny. He says, how is it that you can name every lyric from a Britney Spears song, but can't remember the Bill of Rights? And Test is, it's just unbelievable, because Test is basically just a heavy, and these guys are the mic talkers, really.
Yeah, this was a good match here, really, good back and forth match here. Eventually, the rest of the Un-Americans try to interfere, and it works at first. Test ends up nearly getting.
And by the way, Test is getting booed out of the fucking building here. He is the most hated man in the fucking arena.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Until later, we'll get.
And then eventually, the Undertaker actually wins. Very rarely with the Tombstone. I say that because he wasn't doing the Tombstone all that much under the American Badass. Yeah. And then he actually did the old school Undertaker pin where he crosses the arm and sticks his tongue out. And then you could make the argument maybe Test should have went over here because they were trying to build the Un-Americans, but considering the fact that they were trying to gear up Undertaker for his next WWE title match, it kind of made sense for him to go over here. Plus, you're not going to talk me out of Undertaker winning a match. It's just not going to happen.
Of course.
So,
yeah.
You can't see it right now, but he's in the background right now. So, yeah, that was pretty much it. It was a good match here. It made sense to put this match in between the Intercontinental and the unsanctioned match because it was a nice little cool-down match. But it was still
even then, it wasn't even a cool-down match because they really got that crowd invested in the story.
Yeah.
They really did a good job here. I think a lot of people don't like this match, and I don't get why. Because this was really, really well worked by these guys. Like, it's 3 1/4. It ain't the best match of the night or anything, but it was hardly, like, the worst.
I gave it 3. I thought it was good. So.
It was really good to me. So, good,
I mean,
good on you guys.
To me, it was the worst match of the night, but no, it was so many good matches, you know, how could you...
Honestly, it wasn't even bad. Like, that's not even saying it was bad. It was just, you know, it was a calm down match anyway. It was intended to be. And then, yeah, it was fucking great. The crowd was fucking invested. What more could you want?
Yeah. As for all these guys, Undertaker, just go watch our SummerSlam 92 review. That's what we explained what Undertaker is. As for Test, you know, obviously he would still be part of the Un-Americans. We kind of explained that already. He would do this weird thing where he was feuding with Scott Steiner over the services.
And then teamed up with Scott Steiner. He had a thing where his fans were called the Testicles.
Yeah. No, I didn't want to.
I did not want to be beloved. Why are you calling me a testicle, you asshole? What the fuck?
Yeah.
No.
And then he was a part of that WWE ECW. That failed.
Probably one of the few freaking good things about that brand too, because he really was trying to be a hardcore type wrestler, and they just did nothing with him.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, was fucking roided out of his mind.
And, you know, decided to not win a championship because he wanted to take a count-out loss. I remember, if you want to know James' rant on that, go watch a Royal Rumble 2007 review for that.
Oh, my God, yeah.
And then he left the company. He had a short stint in TNA, and then he committed suicide, I believe.
Yeah, 2009. That was a really bad year for a lot of celebrity and wrestling deaths. Fuck me.
Yeah.
Never bring me back to that time period again. By the way, I have my own notes on this match, and then we can get to the unsanctioned. No lyrics for the You're Gonna Pay instrumental. Interesting. Still dope guitar work from Jim Johnson, though, but why? What the fuck?
I didn't think so. But
I can play guitar, guys. Look at me. Okay, dude. And boy, is the American Badass over. He got a fucking great pop here. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Major pop. Was an underrated match in story. It's a really awesome match with plenty of heel and face tendencies that made sense and got the crowd into it. Good average match that did its job. This was the iconic image where Undertaker held up the American flag like a cape. What a fucking visual, by the way. Holy,
yeah.
Dude, that's so fucking epic. Like, that's in his Titantron, and it's so cool.
Yeah. They played that for a while, yeah.
A long while. Even during the frickin' beat the streak frickin' videos that they would do. Like, they'd show him with the flag.
Yeah.
Even though he never had... he did in WrestleMania 19. That's right, yeah. He did. But they showed the SummerSlam one instead because it's so fucking cool looking.
Yeah, it is.
It's really good. I said for the promo for the unsanctioned match between Triple H and Shawn Michaels, what an awesome promo package. Without a doubt, sold this feud properly. Although, if it was unsanctioned, why is there a promo for it?
I'm pretty sure there was one though for John Moxley and Kenny Omega when they did theirs and all fairness though. So.
I then wrote right after that. I said, as good as this promo is, it is in 16 FPS. Holy shit. Wow.
But anyhow, I'll talk about that. So yeah, we had that match. It was Triple H versus Shawn Michaels in the unsanctioned match.
What an epic entrance for Shawn Michaels, especially for an unsanctioned match, LOL.
Yeah.
You sure it's unsanctioned? Okay.
Yeah, you could make the argument that wasn't treated the greatest, but whatever.
It was still great.
This feud came together because they were both a part of DX together. Before Shawn Michaels had to retire forever, we thought. And, Triple H talked about how Shawn Michaels used him to stay at the top, and he used Shawn Michaels to get to the top, which I think is a great line.
Really good line.
And I think originally the feud was going to be Triple H versus Kevin Nash with Shawn Michaels in the corner, because if you remember, I think Shawn was still doing the NWO when he basically convinced...
Yeah, it was originally going to be the start of an NWO DX feud, yeah.
Yeah, because Shawn Michaels convinced Triple H, because Triple H got drafted to both shows, so he could pick which one he wanted to be on, and Shawn Michaels convinced Triple H to choose Raw, But obviously, because the NWO went to shit, they kind of forgot. They kind of nixed that part of the story. So then they reformed DX, and they were doing their catchphrase, "Let's get ready to suck it," but Triple H laid them out with a pedigree and turned on Shawn Michaels and basically gave the explanation that I just said.
Shawn Michaels then got ambushed. Triple H acts like he's super concerned. Really good.
Yeah, that was kind of a...
Really good acting by Hunter, though. I'll give him credit. Like, I didn't know. And then, turns out it was him all along.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is, maybe they should have reversed that. Maybe, had Triple H, had Shawn Michaels get attacked first, then Triple H laid him out with the pedigree, and then, it's revealed he attacked him. But other than that, the feud is still really good. So then Shawn Michaels wanted to fight wanted to have a match with Triple H, but Triple H told him he couldn't wrestle anymore, but Shawn Michaels was like, well, I can still fight. And Eric Bischoff said that he wasn't going to sanction this match between him and Shawn Michaels. And, pretty much that's this feud in a nutshell. Really good feud.
I then said, when I heard that explanation, I said, now that I think about it, they should have just had Shawn sign a hold harmless agreement with WWE. Would have made more sense, and you could have called it a whole harmless match. Because that's kind of what this was. So that way you can still have the pomp and circumstance, and, terminology-wise, it makes sense.
Then we had the match. Triple H got his big entrance. Shawn Michaels got his big entrance. It was his first match in WWE since WrestleMania 14. It really wasn't, because he had like a match, in the Indies and his home indie state. But let's be real, this was his first legitimate match in front of a big stage in a while. And it was meant to be a one-off. There was just to see if he could still go, and I don't know when they decided that it wasn't going to be a one-off, because I'll talk about in a second. When they do the finish to this, it was obviously it was going to be more than just a one-off, because I don't know if it was when he was training for the match or what, because when they did the end and angle, obviously
he's coming back.
Yeah. Anyhow, though, the match itself was great stuff. Shawn Michaels starts off really aggressive in this match, just really taking it to Triple H for everything that he did to him, tackles him to the floor, throws him into the barricade, throws him into the steps. Eventually, Triple H gets the advantage, and he targets the back of Shawn Michaels, and this is basically, anytime someone comes back, you're meant to be nervous for the guy, like when Daniel Bryan came back.
Especially here, which I then wrote also in my notes, Earl Hebner selling the severity of the situation is fucking superb.
Yeah,
Holy
Triple H
shit, he did great.
Really targeted the back of Shawn Michaels. He hit a backbreaker. He had two sidewalk slams onto a steel chair while it was opened up, like as if Shawn Michaels was going to take a seat on the chair. Boy, did he take a seat all right. Back suplex onto the steps. He eventually Hebner stepped in and told him to knock it off and all that type of stuff. But eventually Triple H just wouldn't knock it off. Get him in the back with a ladder. He Irish whipped him hard way back first into a ladder. Shawn Michaels went up over the ropes and everything. Eventually Shawn Michaels started mounting a comeback. He hit Triple H with a trash can lid. He slingshotted him into a trash can lid, slingshotted him into a ladder on the outside, which caused him to go into the steel post, which opened up Triple H. He hit him off the head with a steel chair. He hit an elbow drop off a ladder through a table. Off the top turnbuckle through a table onto the outside.
What a fucking brutal landing, too, that he got from this, man. Fly splash right through this goddamn table. It looked like the thing damn near disintegrated, with Jim Ross saying, Shawn Michaels willing to put his career and life on the line, right as soon as he hits line impact right through the table. What a soundbite.
We actually got I don't think it was the first time, but we want table chip before you started hearing it after every no DQ match where it gets annoying.
Yeah.
So. Triple H.
We'll get to that in the 2000 review.
Eventually, Triple H went for a pedigree. Shawn Michaels counted it into a roll-up and ended up getting a surprise victory on Triple H. I thought the finish here totally made sense that Shawn Michaels out-wrestled Triple H. Then afterwards, Triple H attacked.
Don't forget the ladder spot. You remember the ladder spot where he mocked, basically did a callback to Razor and him. And I'm sorry, and he went and said, "Thank you, I love you all," and what a fucking elbow.
Yeah.
Oh my god, iconic, man. So iconic.
Then afterwards, this is when you knew it wasn't a one-off. Triple H attacked Shawn Michaels from behind, hit him in the back, right across the back with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, I said, what a fucking match. This is 5 stars to me, or for me, all day. Hell, even 6 by Dave Meltzer standards. So great. And then the most vicious post-match assault from any heel you will ever see.
Yeah.
This was fucking heat when he did this.
I went 4 3/4, basically, just because they should just because they didn't really go into like like they had grand entrances and stuff. Like they should have gone a little bit more into the unsanctioned match thing. So,
I feel like I overlooked that when I was watching the fucking match at that point. So I'm like, I'm not even counting the entrances. So like that's my logic with it. It was like fucking so good.
But they came out like even in wrestling attire and like the referee should have been like the referee was still in a referee shirt. Like this should have been a little bit more of an unsanctioned match than it was, but it was still brutal. As for post match, like we said, this didn't end up being a one-off. If you want to know what we think, just watch what we said about Shawn Michaels in 1992 SummerSlam review. I will say they did continue this feud for a long time. This basically set the stage for any wrestling feud. Like, without this feud, we really wouldn't have the Johnny Gargano Tommaso Ciampa feud because that took elements from this feud.
Big time. So yeah, definitely. And then as far as Triple H goes, he would go on to have the Reign of Terror, which went on for way too goddamn long. And
I will say probably too the post-match attack probably isn't good in hindsight because that was kind of the launching pad of the Reign of Terror if you think about it. Probably.
To a degree, yes. But while with the good you have with the bad you have to also take the good, and formed Evolution, which was admittedly a fucking great faction. They ended up winning all the titles by Armageddon 2003, Orton, Batista, Flair, and Triple H. Triple H would then have the great match we talked about with Benoit. Then he would gain the title back from Randy Orton after he turned face and turned on him, which was admittedly pretty shit. And then he would go on to have a match with Batista, which was kind of shit at Mania, but then would make up for it in the Hell in a Cell match. Would go on to have like a ton of Hell in a Cell matches.
Really put Batista over too. Like he put Batista over like 3 times.
Yeah. He would go on to then be a heel until he was sick of Vince McMahon's shit and telling him what to do. And then that's when they fully reformed DX. No backstab that time. They became dad version of DX, which was admittedly pretty funny. This version of it.
This was better than the 09. Then, he tore his quad for the second time, so then he was out for a while. Came
back. He finished the fucking match with a torn quad again, by the way.
Yeah, he did. You wouldn't have even known it, yeah. And then he went on to... he came back in 07, had Ken Booker's last pay-per-view match, and then he basically was WWE champion again. He had that thing where he had to defend the title. He had like 3 WWE title matches at No Mercy. When he won it from Orton, retained it against Umaga, and then lost it.
He became a 15-time world champion just because of those 3 wins, pretty much.
Actually, 14, because you forgot when he...
the 15th one came later during the Authority thing. But yeah.
And then, no, he's only 14. He's only 14-time world champion.
Oh, is he only 14? Fair enough. He then went on to have a really good triple threat match at Mania 24 between Cena and Orton. Would then revisit that feud to ad nauseum between these 3.
And then he had a really good run with the WWE title in 08. Actually helped Jeff Hardy break out the
Yeah, big time.
And then, he had that really good feud with Randy Orton, like we talked about, where the match at WrestleMania 25 was shit.
Yep. Fast forward, he goes into kind of like just, tagging with DX. He brings back
the
DX.
The shit one where they
buried Legacy. and had a okay TLC match with Jericho.
Yeah.
And then they won the tag team titles for the first time in their careers as a team. Believe it or not, that's crazy.
I know. I couldn't believe it when that happened at the time.
And
then he didn't put over Sheamus. He didn't put over Sheamus at WrestleMania 26.
Oh boy, did he not! But he put him over at Backlash because he wanted to take a long nap.
Are you sure did he really put him over though?
No.
He got it. He really didn't put him over.
No, he didn't.
Even if he did, it was all undone with by the next year because he just kicked his ass.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. He then had a great fucking series of matches with The Undertaker after he retired his best friend.
And then,
yeah,
he basically was it. I still can't stop laughing. Over Sheamus, come on, man. That's putting somebody over. What the hell? What the hell is that?
Yeah, you ain't wrong. You ain't wrong.
Anyhow, then he went on to be the COO both in real life and backstage.
And
not backstage, kayfabe.
Turned heel again, then created the Authority.
Stayed around too long.
Stayed around too long again. And then, was running NXT. And then, until he wasn't. And
until he wasn't.
And unfortunately had to retire because of a heart problem. So
yeah.
Well, now apparently he's running it again. So I don't fucking know anymore. Put it that way. I don't know what the hell Hunter's doing anymore.
I'm still laughing about put over Sheamus.
Yeah, he's totally
He put over a dude. Oh my gosh. Put over Sheamus. You kidding me? How did that put somebody over?
It's fair. You're not wrong. Kinda. I did say
think
kinda.
About it. No, there's no kindos about it. There was no nothings. Think about it, by the way, too. Had he just put over Sheamus, we wouldn't have gotten that abysmal face when we got 2012. If you think about it, too.
Oh my god, I forgot the one where he was trying to be the Irish John Cena.
Remember the 1-800 fellow or whatever? Are we talking about that?
We'll talk about that in the 2012 review, I'm sure.
Then afterwards, we had a weird segment. This was probably like the weakest part of the show, but I didn't necessarily hate it, but I just didn't understand it.
I'll read it off. In-ring segment: Howard Finkel, Trish Stratus, and Lillian Garcia. Howard Finkel is talking about his career in ring announcing and how he was in that very arena for Mania 2, which had 3 arenas, so that was one of the, apparently. Might have been the one where Bill Bundy and Hogan had that really awful cage match. And then Trish Stratus comes out, and I literally, at that point, I just wrote, what a weird cool-down segment. Why the hell is WWE trying to make Howard Finkel a heel?
I don't understand. That's why I said I didn't understand it. The only reason I'm going to get...
Oh, and then this thing is like, so that explains why WWE went after MLB. Finkel explains it. That's when I figured out what the fucking propaganda video was for.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And then, basically, Lillian Garcia showed up out of nowhere, low-blowed him from behind.
Yeah, after she was trying to seduce the Fink, basically just to lure him into it, and then the Fink is acting like a creep. It looks like a little mini Bastion Booger with the fucking Luna Vachon.
He did, yeah.
And then Lillian Garcia comes in, kicks him in the dick, they embarrass him, and they leave.
So I think
I just wrote again, this is such a weird angle, why is Trish and Lillian feuding with the Fink?
I think I'm gonna guess the Fink wanted to put over Lillian Garcia because she was gonna be taking over ring announcing in his behalf, but it's like I don't really think it needed it.
Way to do it.
Yeah. Hey, at least the ring announcers had gimmicks back then, not like nowadays.
That is true.
As for where everybody is, the Fink would go on to basically win announce part time. I believe the last thing he win announced really was I think WrestleMania 34 or 33. I don't remember which one because I remember there was a WrestleMania where he was like pissed that he wasn't there. So I don't remember whatever one it was. So I think it was 34 was his last one, and then he passed away in 2020. I don't know how he passed away. If it was COVID or
probably. Let's just
yeah. I'm just gonna say COVID because I'm gonna blame COVID for it.
Yeah. Fuck that.
Even if it was, yeah. And then Trish Stratus basically became one of the great. She was on the verge of becoming one of the greatest women wrestlers ever.
In the WWE, for sure.
And then
Lillian went on to be the ring announcer for years, and now runs a podcast called what's it called? I forgot.
Chasing with Glory.
Thank you. Yeah, because basically Chasing with Glory. Fun fact is because she sang the national anthem at the post 9/11 SmackDown.
There you go.
By the way, first public gathering according to them in the history of the country. After that happened, so
yeah. Then we had the main event. It was The Rock defending the WWE Undisputed WWE Championship against Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman. For some reason, I wrote WWE Undisputed WWE Championship. I don't know why, but I did.
Exactly.
The build up to this was basically they were really hyping up Brock Lesnar. I know there's probably people that come in and won it faster. He's probably won a world championship faster than anybody else. I know you could say Hogan when he came in 88, but you got to remember Hogan was already there before, so that really doesn't count. I think Brock Lesnar is probably the fastest superstar to come in and win a world championship right away. Yeah. Talk about coming in at a great time, by the way. Because had Brock Lesnar probably come in a year later, he definitely wouldn't have won this world title as fast as he did. No. Brock Lesnar basically came in as this destroyer. He won King of the Ring. You can make the argument Brock Lesnar's the last real true King of the Ring winner. You can make the argument Ken Booker.
Yeah, I literally wrote in my notes, love the promo, and the King of the Ring. Back when winning tournaments and multi-man ladder matches used to mean something.
Yeah. And Brock Lesnar was just going on a tear. He was destroying people like RVD, the Hardys. Like we talked about Hulk Hogan. Actually beat Hogan clean and made him pass out. And it was really weird what happened here because the fans knew The Rock was going to be leaving, so the fans were starting to turn on The Rock. The fans started turning on The Rock.
They turned his face on this night. This was the start of Brock's
heel.
Yeah, they turned The Rock heel and they turned Brock face, and this was like the unofficial start of Brock's face run here.
Yeah.
I wrote the training package for both of these guys made the match feel like a big deal. Because it was basically just a training montage by the end. It gave me Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels vibes for the Iron Man match they had at Mania 12.
Absolutely. So yeah, the match happens. The Rock immediately goes down to the ring and just starts hammering away on Brock Lesnar.
Oh, I wrote this during the entrances. Love how WWE is targeting the MLB and Heyman's wearing a Yankees cap.
Yeah. I didn't notice it because I don't watch sports, so
yeah. I caught that.
I probably would have known it was a Yankees cap, but I just didn't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I got you.
But anyhow, The Rock attacks Brock Lesnar right away before the match even starts or any of that. Heyman gets up on the apron and it allows Brock Lesnar to hit a wicked knee to the gut, which probably was a little bit low, but it was meant. But the ref didn't call it, so.
There you go.
Then Brock takes over the match for a bit. He sends The Rock's spine first into the ring post. The Rock gains back control, and the second The Rock gained back control was when you noticed fans were booing The Rock and cheering Brock Lesnar. Like that was when you noticed.
Deafening here, yeah.
The Rock, hits a spine buster. He throws Brock Lesnar to the outside. He hits a rock bottom on Heyman through the announce table because this is after one of too many times Paul Heyman kept interfering in the match. So The Rock just finally had enough and said, "Yeah, I ain't dealing with you no more." And then The Rock went back into the ring, spine buster, people's elbow, Brock Lesnar kicked out. There's a spot where both guys are down and they both do the kip up.
That was such an iconic moment. The fans lost their shit when that happened, by the way. Wow.
Yeah. Rock went for the F5 several times, but The Rock kept countering it, which the fans booed every time he countered it. The Rock got him.
Brock then hit a Brock bottom.
Yeah. And the fans cheered that. The Rock kicked out of that. The Rock hit got the sharpshooter in on Brock Lesnar.
The shit shooter. Let's call it what it is.
Fans booed that. Brock got to the ropes. And then afterwards, eventually Rock went for one final people's elbow. Let's be real, it was just the Rock elbow because the people weren't feeling that elbow.
No, it wasn't. Call it the Hollywood elbow.
Then Brock immediately kicked up, clotheslined him, hit an F5, got the win, became new WWE Undisputed Champion.
To a thunderous pop, by the way. Thunderous.
This was Brock Lesnar's, big moment in the sun.
The next big thing arrived.
Yeah. And Brock Lesnar went on to dominate WWE.
Yeah, I said super underrated match, by the way. Such an athletic contest while also having feats of strength for both. Heyman, one of the best spots is by Heyman. Heyman saying, "Oh shit!" when Rocky looked back at him was fucking priceless, man. That was so Heyman. I love that spot. So yeah, that's all.
So Brock Lesnar went on to basically be the next big thing, as they said. He would go on to beat superstars such as The Undertaker and Edge. Eventually, he went on to have his face run when Paul Heyman turned on him, which I don't understand why they ever did that.
Big Show won the title from him. He won the title back from Big Show thanks to Angle. I'm sorry. Angle won the title. Angle won the title because of Brock. My bad. And then
we just found out Angle was working with Heyman all along, which was kind of funny how that happened.
And then Team Angle became a thing, and then
Brock Lesnar went on to win the WWE title at WrestleMania 19. He basically dominated WWE like his first run. He barely ever lost.
He fucking went on a tear with this belt, man. Absolute tear the second time.
Yeah.
He had the best Iron Man match, in my opinion, you will ever see from WWE. Honest to God. Because SmackDown, and that was after a classic that he had with SummerSlam 2003 with Kurt Angle. Go out of your way to watch that match. It ends in a fucking draw. And what a freaking moment it was. Like, I get it. A lot of people are like, well, they should have gone to sudden death, and they probably should have, but still, the match is fucking epic.
Wait, what are you talking? What ended in a draw?
The Iron Man match they had for the title.
No, it didn't.
It didn't? That's right. Brock won the belt by a point because he couldn't put it in the sudden death. That's right. You're right.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. I mean,
Brock just went on a tear.
He went on a tear, and then he lost to Eddie, and then he lost to Goldberg, and he was tired of the road schedule. He didn't want to do it anymore. I kind of don't blame him. They were still going nuts even back then. Left the WWE after a terribly received match with Goldberg at 20. Flipped off the crowd. Went to go out, try out for the Minnesota Vikings, and had it not been for an injury, probably would have been a defensive lineman, which is fucking crazy scary that he would have been able to excel at another sport outside of the WWE. Would go on to New Japan, win the IWGP Championship. Lost it to Kurt Angle, who then brought it to TNA, and then united the title with, I think it was a young Shinsuke Nakamura who actually won it, believe it or not.
Yeah, and then Brock went on to dominate the UFC for a while.
Yeah, he beat, if you like MMA, watch his match with fucking Frank Mir. Randy Couture. Frank Mir, I think he fought later, but his match with Randy Couture is unbelievable. Like, just the beating that fucking guy took. And then he came out on the other side and won the title, and the crowd went in there hating him because of where he came from, which was WWE. And they ended up fucking going nuts when he won the belt after one of the greatest fucking comebacks in UFC history you will ever see. He then lost the title. He actually held it. They had to have an interim champion because he had diverticulitis around that time.
I remember that.
His final match in UFC was a loss against Alistair Overeem, which is funny now looking back on that since he's now doing that thing with the UK promotion. And then he would go on to come back to the WWE, win even more championship gold with the WWE title run and a Universal title run. Actually beat the streak of the Undertaker. What the fuck? And then, I don't even. He's won.
Brock's just like he took over the rest.
He took over combat sports and just became a household name in the world of sports. As for The Rock, he became a household name in a whole different way in entertainment. Went on to have that run in Hollywood. Came back to the WWE for a short stint as Hollywood Rock, which is probably his most underrated run in the entirety of his career in wrestling.
If only like him and Vince didn't have a dispute. Imagine how much further they could have taken that gimmick.
Man, that would have been so good. He lost to Goldberg, put him over on the way out at Backlash that year after having one last final match with Austin, finally getting his W. He ended up having one more match with Mick Foley against Evolution. That was his last match for years. He went on full-on Hollywood after the success of Walking Tall, which was the only successful WWE-produced film ever. The highest fucking draw. That's really what kicked off The Rock's Hollywood career, that movie.
Is that really saying much, though, the most successful film in WWE?
Yeah, come on. I know, but like still, it's like The Rock, because of his role in The Scorpion King, it's skyrocketed that movie. And he has dominated the Hollywood scene ever since. While doing the Hollywood thing, came back 2011, hosted WrestleMania, started a feud with Cena, which was twice in a lifetime because they false advertising pricks. And then
won the WWE Championship. Yeah, won the WWE title at one last time, and then then he lost, and then he basically had his last match at WrestleMania 29 because, of course, he got injured in that match, and now his agent's too worried that that's going to happen again. Which I say, fuck.
Or so you thought.
Yeah. So, the Eric Rowan match you're talking about.
Mm-hmm. The bell rang. He was in gear. And he rock bottomed them in 7 seconds.
And I was there for that, and I forgot about it. So
because it was a forgettable bullshit thing. Long story short, he is now possibly coming back against Roman Reigns. I'll believe it when I see it, but for right now, still the biggest draw Hollywood has ever produced.
Yo,
there you go.
I mean, I hope he comes back for the Roman Reigns match, but
who knows?
Then that could lead to problems, because then you have to get the belt off Roman probably before then, and there's no one there that could take the one guy that could take the belt for him's injured right now. So we'll see. What do you rate the Rock Brock match?
I rate the Rock Brock match a good 4 stars. It was decent.
I did. Yeah, I thought it was great.
But yeah, there you go. I enjoyed it. It was fucking great. It was probably the sports entertainment match of the night, I would say. So I enjoyed the hell out of it. Go ahead. What were you saying?
They were supposed to have a rematch of this match, I think at WrestleMania 30, but then it didn't happen because The Rock, obviously couldn't. The Rock's agent wouldn't allow it.
Said, fuck that. Basically, yeah.
Maybe that was a good idea, considering the fact that Brock was, Brock broke. They probably watched the Brock Lesnar John Cena match at Extreme Rules, and they were like, Brock, you ain't doing this match.
No, he isn't. Definitely. By the way, my final thoughts on the pay-per-view are definitely a great pay-per-view. Match is delivered, with the exception of maybe Flair, Jericho, and Test and Taker, and even those were really good.
I loved them,
and even they were decent. Even the annoying SmackDown versus Raw segments were different and new for the time, so I can't crap on it using hindsight. Even the weird segment with Fink was entertaining, if not odd. Definitely a great effort for sure. Solid A+ for me.
So it's very rare I do this. I don't do this often. It's getting the S rank. It breaks the scale. The scale's broken. I broke the scale, man.
I wouldn't blame you, honestly. When people say that this pay-per-view is one of the greatest pay-per-views they've ever had, there ain't no lie in that fucking statement, man. This is a goddamn great effort by everybody involved.
I think we need to review SummerSlam 2012 soon, so we can fix that scale again, because I have a feeling that will fix it. But anyhow, I loved this show. This was a fantastic show. Every match delivered. And I feel like too, you can watch this. The best thing about the show is you can watch the show even in hindsight and feel pretty good about it because everybody, except maybe like Lance Storm and Test, became like a star coming out of the show.
Yeah,
so
big time. Yeah.
Actually, I think Adam Blomke talked about it when he did the 10 most interesting facts about SummerSlam. I think like every person, almost every person on the show is like a former world champion if you think about it.
Yeah,
like
almost everyone on this show, yeah, which is crazy because you will definitely not see that when it comes time for the next 10 years. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna. I think SummerSlam 2012. We're probably gonna. I remember that show being good at the time. When we probably go back and watch it, we're gonna be so fucking mad. We're gonna be so fucking mad.
Yeah, probably. Probably. Who knows? Maybe it'll surprise us. Who knows? I remember that Triple H and Brock had a match there.
One thing I'm definitely gonna remember is I'm gonna be mad I'm gonna be mad when I see that Antonio Cesaro Santino match because no one where Cesaro went from that match. I'm gonna be so mad. So mad.
I'm already mad. We're not even there yet.
I'm so mad.
Yeah.
Fuck. You're already mad, and we haven't even talked about the show yet.
Yeah. Let's end on a high note with plugs, shall we? Let's plug our shit. Should I go first, or should you? Since you end the thingamajiggy.
I guess I'll start. So check out this channel for future content. We have SummerSlam 1992 up right now, a show that aired 10 years ago before this.
Yep. We have 2000 coming up. We got 2003 coming up, and we also have 2012 that's on the docket. 2000 is going to be coming up. We're actually filming this before we're filming 2000, but you'll see that literally, you probably have already seen it by now, so go check that out as well. And, this is the review. This is the final one before the big night is SummerSlam, and then we will have 2 more SummerSlam reviews after that, which is 2003, and then following from that, 2012. So, there you go.
And then, check out AEW Spark, the one that James did, and hopefully my schedule doesn't change and I can actually do it this week. So
yeah, exactly. God willing.
It's not. I could say I could get up. I could say I could get up early and review it, but we tried that last week. That didn't work.
Yeah, definitely. I would say watch everything early if you haven't already.
Yeah, and then there's nothing else coming up on the channel. You can check out Owen the Talking.
Owen the Talkinator and CM Brothers, whatever that we can upload content on there with everything going on.
Yeah, and then
that's pretty much it on your end, right? And then follow him on Owen the Talk 44 on Twitter. You guys can find me on Twitter at jhebertside95. That's JHEBERTSIDE95. That's also my YouTube channel. You can check that out. You can check out Content and Review, Indie Force, Open Mic Night, hosted by Nico Sinex. You can also check out Jay Hebert's Side of Things whenever the fuck I do that one. I do plan on doing that at some point. I have a really spicy topic on that one. And Jay Hebert D-Medits, even though I haven't posted anything of that in ages. So check all that out there if you're interested in all that. And FTW Watch Party, where we have done all of Fyter Fest by this point, by the time you see this. So go check that out right now via this link, because it has all of those videos in the iCard and the end screen. You can also check me out on Weymouth Youth Wrestling at youtube.com/user/WYW Pride. That is exactly where Owen is, and I am. We run a CAW league called Weymouth Youth Wrestling. Go check it out. We're all a part of it in some way, shape, or form on FTW Productions. And check out Casey's channel as well, where hopefully by the time you see this, we will be planning a part 2 of the revenge mode for WrestleMania 19. So check that out. And that's really all I got for that one. Do your catchphrase and close us out, my friend.
So thank you guys for watching, and we will talk to you guys later. And since this is being filmed in the past, in the future.
Redoing all the classics, you heard it, then I grabbed it. Flow like Method Man, then run like I'm Rabbit. Soon as I hear the bass line, it be my FaceTime. Music's in my veins, so just in case I'm without my iPod or a media player, I'll check my